What's up, everybody? You guys are watching Inside the Coils. Tonight's episode, guys, super excited because this is one person that I've watched for many, many years. They probably had no idea, but during the time of me just getting into this before I've, officially had my first clutch, their videos have helped me out so much, which is probably part of the reason why I've avoided some of the nightmares other breeders have had up until certain, this year with just the ultimate, it's eventually going to happen type of deal. So before we bring them out, I want you guys to do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, please. If you're new to the channel, hit that like button, drop me a comment. What do you guys think about this live tonight? You just don't have to drop that comment now, wait till later, but definitely make sure you guys drop that comment at the end of the live. I'd greatly appreciate it. And then I do want to make two announcements. First of all, we're going to be doing some slight changes with the channel. Once a month, I'm going to be doing a sponsor special, basically live auction. So for all the main sponsors of the channel, they're going to, once a month, we're going to pick one of them. Whoever wants to go is basically who's going to be up to bat. And we're going to do a live auction, help them move some of their animals and help get you guys some good deals. Also, the other thing is that we now have a promo code for all of our sponsors. So we'll go through all the sponsors here in a little bit, and I'll touch base on this again. But Warful10 will get you 10% off of any purchase from our sponsors. Now, I do believe it's going to be a one-time, code, so use it wisely. But Warful10, 10% off of your purchase from any of our sponsors. So that's not including our partners like Husbandry Pro and all that stuff. So it's just going to be our main show sponsors. So definitely make sure you guys check them out. Use that code Warful10, 10% off. But anyway, we'll get into that stuff a little bit later. We'll bring Matt and Caleb out, say hi to them. Go say hi to everybody in the chat. You guys know how this whole thing rolls. Matt, Caleb, what's up, guys?
Hey, pretty good. And hey, thank you for that introduction. That's way more than I could have hoped for. Our goal is never to be a huge breeder, but our goal was always to be helpful. So if we got to do that, that's what we're all. I appreciate it. I guess what I'm trying to say,
dude. I will be honest with you, and you it was kind of like perfect harmony. In all honesty. One of the first videos I watched of yours, you were going over your very first clutch.
Oh, God, that thing sucked.
And that basically covered everything I would have been questioning, worried about, and everything. So it helped me avoid making those same mistakes. And I've had a perfect knock on wood, because I've still got one more clutch to freaking go that I'm anxious for. But up until this year, everything's been smooth sailing. This year that we had one massively kinked up baby dude. He was fused, the only thing that wasn't fused was a little bit of his neck and his tail. Everything else was just all fused together.
Yeah, I've had a few of those. They call them a ball with a head.
Yeah,
they look like,
Yep, exactly.
Mine were accidental caramels that did that. I mean,
I do remember that. I do remember you when you had the accidental caramel clutch.
It was a caramel clown. So it would have been, it started the clown curse, as we like to call it around here, of our bad luck with clowns, was hitting an accidental caramel clown. It would have been a beautiful animal, but,
I still have yet to hit a clown. This would have been my first year to hit an axanthic clown.
Oh, nice.
And my one clutch to do that, I got no axanthics and no clown.
Oh, damn.
It was double head to double head. I knew the odds. I knew it was a gamble. Yeah, I thought I might at least the odds are out of 4 eggs. I thought I'm at least going to either hit a clown or an axanthic at least.
Right. You'd think.
And I hit 2 killer bees and 2 spiders. So spider took the whole clutch in general. But when I cut the first egg, the killer bees really fooled me, dude. They legit in the egg looked like zebra bees, like killer zebras.
Yeah. And even a good killer bee, it'll be super light when you first cut.
Yeah.
And they can. Then that color, that yellow starts to come. It's as they get closer to coming out, you start saying, is that am I seeing the egg albumin or is that yellow I'm seeing? Then you're like, damn, that's yellow.
Yeah.
We've been there.
That's word for word exactly what freaking happened. Because I was even in my chat like the next day after I cut them, because I checked them out. I was like, I think I see yellow, guys. It's like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Like they both have a yellow tint. No, it's albumin. It's albumin. We're good. We're good.
Yep.
And then they came out. I was like, son of a bitch. It's not just the albumin.
I've been there, man. You know, we chased killer zebras for so long because, like, when I started, dude, I literally, you know, I started with absolutely nothing, like nothing. I don't think people realize like how much nothing I had. I was pretty fresh off a divorce, and I kept all the bills. So, you know, literally starting from having to start like with just a very, very basic ground up scrounging to get started. You know, so it took me a long time to build to where I could do those things. So that chase it's amazing, but I've had that yellow tint come in and break my heart a few times. And then you get to a point where like, oh, another killer zebra bee. That's great. You know, that's where we're at now.
I was fortunate enough. I hit 2 zebra bees, and the two of them, they were both phenomenal. Now the female that I'm for sure 100% holding back, after her second or third shed, she got a slight yellow tint to her.
Mm-hmm.
But she's, I mean, God, out of that whole clutch, she's the best looking one as far as cleanliness, the sharpness of the blacks. Like, she's just freaking phenomenal.
Yeah, and if it's a zebra, like it would be, if you were missing the axanthic, it'd be yellow. You know, it'd be just a straight bumblebee. So, yeah, you're probably really good to go on that. And I love zebra bees. I actually think a zebra bee, fresh born, looks better than a killer zebra bee fresh born.
Yes.
You know, to me. Now, on the age, I kind of like the staying more white with the super pastel, but the one thing I hate is you lose the contrast with the black.
Yeah.
You know, so that's why we've kind of moved to using a lot of yellow belly and fire to try to keep that contrast there, but keep that lighter color as adults. So,
that's actually good little method there.
Yeah, because for me, it's not about how many genes can I cram in. I want that animal to look the way that I want it to look in my head. And that's more important to me than stacking 7 genes and charging more money. I give a shit less about that, man. I've had money and I've been broke as a joke, so I can be anywhere in between. It's fine. I don't really give a shit.
Well, let's go through here and say hi to everybody in the chat, and then we'll get into some of these topics and everything else that I want to dive into tonight.
Absolutely.
We've got Will from Will's Heli Heat. What's up, Will? We've got Jolly. What's up, Jolly? Good to see you. I hope you guys did good down at Daytona. Derek, D&K Reptiles, what's up? Thanks for tuning in. We got Blue Zombie, what's up? Anna Flat Mountain Rep or Python. Scott, if I could read.
Yeah. I got to jump in there because Anna's one I want to give a quick shout out to. Because all the stuff that we do through like our keeping our Patreon running, our Discord running, and all of those things, man, none of that shit happens without Anna. None of it. And like we are so far behind on t-shirts, we're almost caught up. That's also all Anna, and we're gonna be much better being on track because of Anna. So I gotta give a big shout out to Anna and Flat Mountain Pythons because a lot of this doesn't happen without her being behind the scenes for me. So thanks a ton.
That's freaking awesome, dude. That's awesome. Let's see here. We got Jay Slithers Morse. What's up, Jay? Thanks for tuning in. Luna, what's up? Thanks for tuning in. Wolfgeist, what's up?
Good job.
Yeah. I recognize a lot of these names.
I was going to say, some of these names are new to the chat, so appreciate you guys bringing some new faces to the channel. Hopefully you guys all hit that subscribe button, please. Greatly appreciate it. We got Charlie from Gray Rider Reptiles. What's up, Charlie? Charlie, I will be sending you some sheds for yellow belly because 2 of these new pickups that I've got, I want to know if there's yellow belly in them, so that way if there is, I know definitely not to pair them together, but there's a good probability that there is, and it's gonna be hard to not want to pair them together. Might be worth the gamble slightly. So I'm definitely gonna have to hit you up for that yellow belly test. Hopefully you get that clown test soon, dude. Got these axanthic girls that I will tell you this, Matt. My one axanthic clutch where I hit 5 visuals. Yeah, 5 visuals. Yeah, 5.
That's good. It's a good run.
Everything is 50% het clown.
Nice.
So I sent the 2 males off. One was a zebra bee. The other one was a pastel axanthic. And because I wanted to know which one the males were
Mhm.
pet clown right now, because the one that isn't, he's gonna make his way to some other home. But the females I held on to all. One, I held on to all of them. Two, I wanted to make sure that I wanted to support Charlie because he's local to me somewhat. He's only a couple hours away. He's up in New York. But I always like supporting the little guy.
Oh yeah.
And like he does so many other tests, and he's been waiting on this freaking clown test. And it's like I refuse. Like there was a certain urgency with the males. I refuse to send the female sheds off to anybody else but Charlie.
Yeah. No, support the little guy's good. You know, we were all. I mean, most of us were all little at one point in time, right?
I'm still little.
Yeah, and I still think I still think of ourselves as little. Like we're growing, but we'll never get to be a large breeder because I don't want to be.
Yeah.
But when you support the large ones, that's also great, and they have some great stuff. And I don't want to take anything away from some of the work those guys do. But I remember how hard I had to scrap coming up. If I can support the little guy, if their quality's there and everything's there, I'd rather do that. That's just me personally.
No, I try to keep all of my stuff local.
Yeah.
Yes, there's times where I'm gonna have to reach out to one of the bigger breeders or another state to another breeder. And that is what it is. But for the most part, I like to keep everything close, and if it's not within my circle, my normal circle, at least every people I'm going to see at my normal shows, try to support them and all that good stuff.
Yep.
Jason, Earl's Exotics, what's up, dude? Thanks for tuning in. Good to see you. Wow. Reptilia Morse, what's up, bro? Good to see you. My brother Phil, what's up, Phil? I hope that carpet python is doing great for you, dude. I know Sean's wife just posted a little video of theirs that they got from me, so I hope yours is doing well. Sammy, what's up, dude? Thanks for tuning in. Great to see you. We got Kent from Craft Brew. What's up, bro? Good to see you. My brother Nathan, which is a sponsor of this week's episode as well, guys. So he's basically a lifetime sponsor of the channel. But we'll get into the little mini commercial section here in a minute. But Nate, thanks for tuning in, bro. Greatly appreciate it. Let's see here. To that, Scott, what's up, bro? Thanks for tuning in. Jessica, what's up? Thanks for tuning in. Or maybe it's Jana. I never know who's behind the holdback rack when you guys are in. It could be Jessica. It could be Jana. Either way, guys, make sure you guys go and check out the Holdback Rack podcast because it is always a great podcast. Those ladies put on a wonderful, wonderful show. Aaron, what's up? Thanks for tuning in. Tara, Voodoo Doll Royals, what's up? My brother Chris, what's up, dude? Which is also another sponsor of the channel. And I just spent a couple hours with Chris yesterday. He hooked me up with a huge rat order. And, man, let me tell you guys, if you guys need rats, hit Chris up at S Reptilia. Chad Hyperspace Reptiles, what's up, dude? Thanks for tuning in. James, what's up? Thanks for tuning in. Mark 403, what's up, bro? Thank you very much for tuning in tonight. Ray, what's going on? Good to see you. Tony, what's up? Damn, you guys brought a lot. You guys brought a decent amount of new faces. Tony's a new face I haven't seen. So, Tony, thanks for tuning in. Greatly appreciate it. Tammy, what's up? Thanks for tuning in. Okay, it's Jessica. All right, awesome. John and Christine, what's up, guys? Great to see you. I had a blast hanging out with you guys this weekend. And that girl, she's looking mighty fine in the rack, guys. Let me tell you, she's looking mighty, mighty fine. Jeff's Reptile Creations, Casey, what's up? Thanks for tuning in. That's a new face as well. Python Addiction, what's up? Thanks for tuning in. All right, everybody, we could sit and do shout outs all night, but Matt and Caleb don't want to sit here and listen to me go through all these names. I greatly appreciate everybody for tuning in, though. These guys are thinking like, Jesus, just freaking start this shit already. We got live here. Before we do, I do have to give a shout out to our sponsors real quick. So I will try to make this speedy, but I wouldn't have such a successful show if it wasn't for my sponsors. So I do have to give them a nice little shout out.
I need to get me some sponsors. That sounds like a good idea.
Dude, it is. It's really nice, man. And like, the nice thing is like we've got like I talk to these guys like on a daily, so it's not just like somebody I don't relate with. I'm talking to them all the time. But sponsor number one is Nathan of Infinite Possible Pythons, guys. If you guys want to get into the Bang project, this is the guy you need to talk to. Not sure if anybody's really looked into it, but this is something where I don't see how it's not going to be the next big thing, especially in, and I have to mention this in specific just because of our guests, but especially in axanthic. So definitely, if you guys are looking to get into the Bang project, hit Nathan up. He's also working a bunch of other badass ball python projects. He's also doing scaleless corn snakes, Leachianus geckos, crested geckos, kahua geckos. He's got a little bit of everything going on there, and he is your one-stop shop for all of your branding needs. So make sure you guys check Nathan out. If you guys like, especially for shows, you need backdrops, tablecloths, merch, business cards, all that stuff. Nathan can hook you up with all of that. So definitely hit him up, check him out. And for, like I said earlier in the show, for all of our sponsors, use the code WARFL10. It'll get you 10% off of or it'll get you 10% off of one of your purchases from our sponsors. Next up is Chris from S Reptilia. Basically, Chris has got a little bit of everything, folks. If you want a ball python, blood python, boa colubrid, I was just over there, like I said. He's showing some awesome, truly amazing clowns that he hatched this year so far. Some Mexican black king snake babies that were in shed and looked really freaking awesome because they look like little zombie snakes. Pine snakes and bull snakes, guys. Holy crap! Let me tell you, like, it was just amazing. He had some blood pythons that were about ready to come out of the eggs. So definitely hit Chris up if you're in the market for any of that stuff. Plus, he is a rat breeder on the eastern side of PA. Make sure you guys hit him up for that because, in my opinion, he does have some of the highest quality rats that I have ever seen. And they're packaged super nice, too. The packaging, to me, says a lot. And Chris packed them perfectly. And also, he is Pennsylvania's distributor of Cocoa to Go and the Chipper. So if you want to use the best reptile substrate on the market, hit Chris up. It is Cocoa to Go or the Chipper. I like Cocoa to Go the best because it's ready to go. But I'll definitely hit Chris up. Again, use code WARFL10. And we've got, if it loads up, John and Christine of Triforce Morse, which is a force to be reckoned with, folks. If you can't find it at Triforce, I don't know where the hell to send you to because John and Christine have a little bit of everything, guys. They're really big into the Citron Clown Pied project, the Matter project, lace. They've got some killer lace stuff, folks. Let me tell you, because some of it managed to make its way here. So hit John and Christine up if you're interested in any of that. Plus, they are also doing crested geckos, and they are part of the reason they were actually part of the main idea with doing this promo code WARFL10 for the 10% off and with the live auction as well for the sponsors. They were part of that. I gotta give a lot of the credit to Danny from DTMG though as well. But anyway, hit up John and Christine from Triforce Morse, and I guarantee you they've got something that's up your alley. And last but not least, Husbandry Pro, folks. If you aren't using this, I don't know why you're not, because this saves me so much freaking time. And for me personally, it allows me to give my customers basically every record they could ever want or need. And like I said, it saves me a crap load of time. I can tell you, you can ask me something about my animals. I can look it up and tell you right away. Definitely is the best reptile record keeping and tracking software on the market. Make sure you guys check it out. And free 30-day trial. Click the affiliate link in the description down below. Scan this QR code if you're on a computer and you can use your phone. But free 30-day trial, dude. You can't beat it, guys. You can't beat it. Give it a shot. All right, that's it, guys. I'm sorry. Everybody gives me so much, especially my buddy Dan, gives me so much shit about the whole sponsor ad things. It's like, dude, it's like, I gotta do it. Like, the sponsors mean a lot to me. I gotta give them the shout outs.
I get that.
Yep.
Let's see here. Everybody, if you guys have any questions for these guys during the live, feel free to drop them. If I don't get to them right away, I will star them and we will get to them as we can. Because I know a lot of people, you get bombarded with questions and it's like, you gotta just kind of take your time, but we will get to them. So Matt, Caleb, tell us a little bit about yourselves, how you guys got into the hobby and industry.
Oh man. Well, I mean, for me, it started back in high school. Actually younger than that. I got my first green anole when I was just a kid in grade school, right? And that was my first pet lizard. My mom let me have a snake. And then when I was in high school, I ended up with the high school pet boa constrictor from the science room, which I kept at my girlfriend's house, so I wouldn't, so I couldn't have a snake in the house. So I found a way around it. That probably made that relationship last longer than it should have. And I had that boa up through my first marriage, which was not to that girl. But and then we were looking at having kids, and wife number one said, "Can't have this boa; it's going to eat children." And I got tired of having the argument, so I found it a good home and just everything to a good home. And after that, we never had children because her insides were cooked. I mean, it's not her fault. But anyway, then that failed. So I'm like, well, hell, why don't I have snakes again? Because I'd had a chameleon, and they only last like 5 years. So I got a carpet python, and then that turned into doing research, and then I turned into wanting a killer zebra bee, but they were like 10 to 15 grand. So I bought a couple different snakes. I just started from there. There was like, if you're here, you're paying rent. So that just kind of how it kind of went. I mean, and now here I am. Like, that's kind of the story. I wish there was more to it, but now there's a whole house filled with snakes. That's just kind of what happened. And Caleb, how was your journey?
So really started really young. I started watching Zaboomafoo, if anyone remembers that show. I think I was like I'd watch it right before kindergarten, like kindergarten class for the day.
Damn.
And then afterwards I'd watch Steve Irwin. So I've always been in one way, shape, or form attached to animals as far back as my family can even remember. And then by the time I was 12 to 13, I was volunteering at different zoos and shelters and things like that. And then to all the way up to being a zookeeper. And then when I was 22-ish, I moved up here. I think I was 22 when I moved up here. And that's when I kind of met this guy before, but that's where I really officially met him. I'd met him before when I was a zookeeper. He had come and done some filming at the zoo I worked at, and I didn't really register when I moved up here that those were the same people. So when I walked into work one day and there he was, I was like, "Oh, dang!" And then the rest is kind of history. I just over time just slowly accumulated reptiles. When I was 6, I got my first lizard, which was a blue-tailed skink. They're wild here, and a pet shop sold it to me. Probably should have known. Probably just given it to me since it was a wild one. But whatever, that's where I got my first real taste into it. And then I got a red-eared slider at 10, and yeah, I just never stopped.
I remember I had a red-eared slider that was probably like my second pet. The first one was an anole. Then I had a red-eared slider, and we used to have turtle races.
Yeah.
Family tells me, like, they always get a kick out to this day. They always tell me about when we went to the turtle races the one time, and we walked through the doors to the pet shop. Apparently, I announced that I was there for this race. Like, I was like king shit, basically. So they don't let me live that down. And it's always a cute little story. But I had the red-eared sliders, the anoles.
Yeah,
I remember the turtle races.
My hometown still has them.
Do they? I don't know if mine does, but we were using box turtles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, they didn't. It was like any type of turtle. I do think there was box turtles, red-eared sliders.
Yeah.
Obviously,
we had someone bring us off,
the more competitive ones out of the group.
Yeah.
I remember those. Those were fun. Of course, we painted their shells.
Yeah.
Probably terrible, but you put a number on there. But we used something that wouldn't stay. I remember that.
Nail polish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like turtles.
Hey, I have some really awesome turtles, so I'm with you on that.
I mean, you know what he's referencing, right?
No.
You ever see the kid that's a meme that they had his face all pale like a zombie, and they're interviewing him on the news and all I like turtles. That was it. He's the only one of those turtle kid now. Yeah, that's where it's coming from.
I do remember that.
There you go.
I remember seeing that now. Yeah. See, all right. Maybe this dates me because I can't remember what movie it was from. But whenever I hear the word turtle anymore, I think of whatever movie it was where the guy's going turtle.
Master of Disguise. I love that movie. It is definitely an older movie, but I love that movie for that specific scene. It's just a core memory. I used to watch that movie with my dad a lot, and that scene sticks out because, yeah, I wanted to be a turtle. I love Master of Disguise.
I'm 42 and I have no clue what the hell you guys
I don't even know when that movie came out. I gotta look that up.
Man, I'm 36, so I'm not that far behind you.
42 going on 24.
The Master of Disguise only came out in 2002, so not that old.
Is that a? But still, dude, that's.
I mean, I guess that is 21 years ago. Yeah, you're right.
Man, I literally went to the movies last night and watched a 30-year anniversary movie. So, yeah.
All right, now what movie was it?
Well, fucking Jurassic Park, of course.
They had that in theaters.
In 3D. It was awesome. It held up. This is a great time. Great time, man. Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna have to check out my theaters, dude, because I remember seeing the original on the big screen and absolutely loving it. Now to see it in 3D,
on the big, I'll tell you what, man. The damn Raptors still got me when they're in the power room. You remember? I hadn't watched it in so long. The first one, that damn thing still made me jump like son of a bitch.
Now you didn't spill the popcorn, did you? Because that would be bad.
Man, I'm fat. I was already done with my popcorn by then. I ate the whole bucket. It was cool.
Oh man. Rob says I can definitely see Jeremy with the face paint and all too. Thanks, Rob. Thanks.
Forgot about that.
Yeah, I like turtles.
CFR, what's up? Thanks for tuning in. It's Serenity, Misty's daughter.
Oh, that's we know them too. They're good folks right there.
Let's see here. Jeff and Angie, my brother and sister, what's up? Great to see us in the chat.
Got to ask a question of them. How's that little one I brought you not so long ago doing? Hopefully still great.
Said last I heard when I was talking to them, actually I was on their live last Monday.
Yeah.
And it was doing great. Jeff is absolutely loving it.
Good. Now he needs a purple haze I got sitting there just born.
Dude, don't tempt Jeff, man. Don't tempt Jeff. Jeff's like me. He gets the eye once, I think, and normally if he's got the eye once, he gets the eye gets.
Yeah, well, my job is to sell stuff, so that's my job is to make the eye once turn into the eye gets. But yeah, they're a lot of fun.
I'm pretty sure Angie has a list of her eye once, and Jeff has one. So if one of them crosses one off, the other one gets it. So I'm pretty sure they both egg each other on.
Perfect. Whatever I got on the list that she wants, I'll bring too. I don't care.
Getting big. Good.
Awesome. They eat like a horse, man. Those things, when you get them going, if it's eating for you, it'll eat constantly. They're amazing.
I know, dude. I know Jeff was talking to me about it. You could just hear in his voice the excitement of it. It was so great.
That's what we want.
He got to get one of the animals he really, really wanted. And it was even cooler when I found out it was from you. It's like, well, shit. It's like, they're coming on. He goes, what, really? It's like, yeah.
Well, you won't find those hardly from anywhere else. As far as I know, there's another line of those that's different from what I understand out there somewhere that's like supposed to be an incomplete dominant thing, which is weird in Westerns, where ours is recessive. Now, the parents were wild caught. So they come from a line of wild caughts that both were displaying that, and that was the first generation captive bred. And every single baby came out that color. Actually, it came out looking normal, and then within 2 sheds colored up. It was pretty wild because they have a lot of change when they're babies as they age. But they're red, man. And then they're weird because you'll see them and they're bright red, and you'll keep watching them. And like 2 months later, you're like, man, this thing looks normal. I don't know what I was thinking. It was kind of like shit. And then it sheds. It's like, oh god, now I can see it. It's red again. It is weird. They just get dingy, shedding, and bam, they're a lot of fun.
Dude, that was something like I love venomous stuff, and we'll even get to talk about that later on too. It's one of those things where like I know my luck with getting bit by the carpets. Yeah. And it's one of those things, it's like, you know what? If I get bit by the carpets, the balls, it's okay. It's okay. No worries. but I just know my luck. I'll get tagged, and that'll be it. Nobody will be home. I'll be screwed, and then yeah, just not gonna play. We're just not gonna tempt fate.
I got one buddy I keep trying to talk into getting into it. And he's got another guy he knows really well in the area that also keeps some venomous stuff, also trying to talk him into getting into it. He finally's like, dude, I sleepwalk. I have woken up in my ball python room before, like about to open a tub. There's no way in hell I'm going to get a viper. I'm like, okay, I'll leave you be. You're probably right. You're probably not made for that.
Oh, God. Imagine waking up.
Yeah. He's like, I'll dream I forgot something and I'll wake up in the ball python room or in the rat room. I woke up in the rat room before. I'm like, yeah, we'll probably,
that's not a good mixture. Oh man. All right, now you've been through a lot, Matt and Caleb, and you can tell us some of the things you've experienced too to get to where you're at now as well. But from when you started to being in the snake house now, what was some of the big struggles you had, making it all come together?
Well, the hardest part was getting going. I mean, it's pretty widely known that I completely screwed up my first clutch, and my actions killed all but one baby, and the last baby just didn't make it. Because it was on top, and I drowned the rest of them. That's on me. And getting past that moment and choosing to continue on the path was very, very difficult, if I'm honest, because I felt so responsible for those babies and my failure, that I just didn't want to do that again. And at the time, there wasn't a lot of help out there. I mean, there was Facebook, but Facebook's a cesspool of shit. We all know that. Pardon my language. Hopefully it doesn't offend anybody. But it is. You go on there and somebody will post something for wanting help, and all they do is get torn to pieces. They get the same answer 47 times and torn down. And it's not really, it gets to the point people don't want to go there for help. So then what good is it? It's not doing what it's meant to do. And so you just kind of felt alone and like a failure. So it was very hard getting past that and continuing on. After that, it really was just learning from, your mistakes and slowly growing. Like, I came from not having a lot at the time, being on my own, like literally 100%. When I first started, I met my current wife right about the time I was having clutch number 1, and she was a really big help in keeping me going. We weren't married yet, but kind of put me in check and said, put your big boy pants on or stop. Like, quit feeling sorry for yourself and don't be a little bitch. And I mean, that wasn't her exact words. If you know her, she's way too sweet to say that, but that was pretty much the feeling I got from it. And so I put my big
translation.
That was a translation. Yeah. She's an elementary teacher. So her words are always very kind, but sometimes the translation in there is put your big boy pants on and quit being a bitch. So that was what I did. And, went forward, and it was just a steady growth year over year over year. As far as the house goes, man, I don't want to get too spiritual, but sometimes God just puts you in the right place, right? And I almost bought a different home because I needed to move, because I just didn't want, my other house was just time to move. And it had a perfect reptile area and all that. Well, it fell through, and I was kind of pissed about it. And then I found the place I live in currently, and it could not be a better place for me in the world. But it didn't have shit for a reptile area. Like, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this going forward, like how I'm going to get to the size I want to be, but we bought it anyway. And I just took that leap of faith because it was kind of a whole step of faith getting to that point. And then as I was outgrowing the one room I had and thinking, how the shit am I going to do this? The neighbor's house came available, right? And it came available before it ever hit the market. The lady that owned it talked to me, and she knew me and my wife. We had met her several times. And, when she first moved in, because she moved in the neighborhood after we did, and she cut us a heck of a deal to get the house. And so we did, and started working on it. It took about 1.5 years to get some of it where we wanted it and to be able to move into it. And it gave us some trials and tribulations, getting the temperatures and things to work well in this house and figuring out how to do that, because it's just a bigger area, and we're literally live in the middle of the woods. And so it just took some time, and then just expansion slowly over time. One thing I always preach when people get in is, unless you have shit tons of money that you want to go spend on this This is not the kind of thing that you should mortgage your 401k for or mortgage your future for, right? You need that future still there. So grow it slow, make sure you're not getting over your head, and put that time and effort in there. That's the best way, because most of us don't start this and quit our day job the next day.
Oh, hell no.
You know, but that dream has been sold by many, you know, because that's how you sell the high-end stuff. As you sell it, as it's this magic money-making, money-printing machine, and I've got too many morals to do that. So I don't want people to come in knowing what it really is going to be. And it just took time, and now it's a big part of what I do, and it still takes a lot of my time. I have left my original day job I had when I started this. I've got a much more flexible second career because I retired from career number 1, which was in law enforcement, if anybody's curious, after 25 years.
Congratulate you on that.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's been great. And luckily, ran into Caleb. He used to work at the shop that I own part of. We got rid of the shop. It was just too much headache. We didn't want to deal with that shit anymore. And so we got out of that because we needed more freedom to focus here. He needed a new place. I was like, hey, bro, I got a deal for you, man. So he actually lives in the reptile house full time. So he's got like an apartment upstairs. It's all good to go. And then he helps me work. Most of his rent and most of his bills are in helping with the reptile house. So he's got probably the cheapest place to live in town with a lake view for damn sure. So you got it made, bro.
With a lake view.
Yes. Yeah.
Caleb, you better be into fishing, dude. If not, and you got a lake view and you're not out there fishing at some point, man, there's something wrong with you.
We set up, I know it's Kansas and it's supposed to look like this, but where we're at, it doesn't. So you can't just walk right down to the lake, but you can see miles and miles and miles down the lake because we're setting up, both houses are kind of built into the side of the hill. That those hills create the valley where the lake is because it's a flood control lake. So it's a dammed river that makes a lake. So you can see probably, I don't know, here you can see probably 9-10 miles down the lake and clear across it on both sides. So he's got, he's actually got a better view of the lake than I do as far as like how much of it he sees. I got more glass though. So it's all
I do go walk down that down there and go.
There is a close access point that you can walk down a hill and go to and get into though for some fishing. Okay. But we got good catfish. We're kind of shit on bass here, but good catfish.
Gar, lots of gar.
Lots of gar if you want gar.
Dude, gar get big too, man. Like they're gnarly looking, but damn, some of them get big.
There's also a rumor we have a manatee.
Wait, what?
Yeah, it's total bullshit. It doesn't exist. But there is a Facebook page for the sea cow in Tuttle Creek Lake. So you can look that up. You can find it. You can follow it. The story goes some soldiers got a sea cow, got in trouble for it because it was an endangered species and dumped it in the lake when it was a baby and it grew up. And people still think they see the old Creeky, the Tuttle Creek Lake sea cow. That doesn't exist. There you are. That's the story. Old Creeky.
Our own little
our version of Loch Ness.
Yeah.
It's some bullshit rumor somebody tried to start, made a Facebook page. It's kind of funny though. It's kind of funny. It's had news stories even, like way back in the day. You can find the link still to the news story on the Facebook page.
Here where I'm at, because I'm in Pennsylvania and I'm right around Chickies Hill area where we have our own version of Bigfoot. I forget the stupid name that they came up with this thing because it's I think is it the Alba? No, it's not the Alba Witch, or is it the Alba Witch? They might be called the Alba Witch. That sounds right. Anyway, it's like our version of Bigfoot. Now, let me tell you, there's not that there's a lot of farmland and woods around, but there's not that much woodland around that this thing could hide and not be seen by somebody because. I mean, there's too many parks and trails in such a small area. It's like someone's going to see the stupid thing if it really existed. Right. Like a little fair for this thing, too. It's just, man, look, weird shit. Weird shit.
Brings in some tourists, though. So what are you going to
do? Mitzi, what's up? Thanks for tuning in, girl. Good to see you. So how about you, Caleb?
I was pretty fortunate for the most. I mean, there was some rough patches. We'll be honest. When I first moved up here and got in, I bought some racks that were secondhand racks, and there was a rack fire. We lost 11 snakes, I believe is what I lost, which doesn't sound like a lot, but at the time that was all but like 3 snakes that I had at the time, which was pretty devastating because some of them were ones that I raised from a baby all the way to an adult. So not only was it heartbreaking, but it was essentially a reset button where you had to just do that whole long grind and wait process over again. Then I happened upon a mutual friend of ours who was selling their collection. And I got it for a good price, and I bought a total of like 40 snakes, which was awesome. I got it for a good price, and things were going. I only got that first year like 3 clutches, and that first one, very similar story to Matt. I fucked some shit up, and it didn't go well. And I had got into a situation with some other people, and it didn't pan out, and I ended up losing half or so. And it got to the point where I called Matt up, and I was like, "Hey, man, like I'm getting out. I'm done. I know you potentially need a new clown mail. I have a clown mail. You can just have it. I'm done. I'm getting out. There was a Cayman. You can have it as well. Like I'm just done." And he said that, basically just bring them all up here. I can come up here and help with them and all that. And they're there if I ever want to get back into it. And so I did. I was like, I'm just going to bring them up here. And I did. And I took a little bit of like 2 weeks, 3 weeks off of just trying to reset and figure out what I'm going to do with my life now. Because I was pretty much, this was what I was going to do with my life. And so since it failed twice, I was like, no, I'm done. But then I started coming up every Tuesdays for film night, because that's when we filmed at the time. And then I started coming up on Fridays, and I was really like, man, I can't not do this. And so then I was coming up multiple times a week, and then it got to the point where I was kind of in a sticky situation, in a living situation. And I was like, I'm going to have to go back home, which is 4 hours from here. So I wasn't going to have a place to live. And I've done the homeless life for a week. It's not that fun. So I was not going to try and do that for an extended amount of time. And at that time, it was the weekend before 4th of July last year. He was like, just come up here. Just come up here. We'll figure it out. And it took me a few days of just getting kicked in the butt. So I didn't want to intrude. I didn't want to impose. Like I was like, that's a lot. And I just finally did it. And I don't think I'll ever leave. Everything kind of, so as I say, I'm fortunate for how everything turned out. It didn't not have its rough patches.
I was going to say, I'm like, dude, you went through probably more trials than most people I know. He's like, it was easy. I had no problems. Like,
it was a struggle bus, but I am, and I don't want to sound, he said he doesn't, want to get too faithful, and I don't want to sound too cliche, but I do firmly believe things happen for a reason, right? And, everything kind of happened just right to where we ended up the way we did. We're having one of the most successful years we've ever had, and next year is going to be even more slammed out of the ballpark.
Yeah, and it was, it was funny because like he was in a spot where he needed help, right? And we're able to do that. But we were in just as much of a spot where I needed help. I just didn't know it yet because I was trying to balance leaving the PD. That was a lot. That's a lot of work. I mean, there's a lot that goes into finishing that out. Starting my new career, which is in insurance sales and things like that. So I was learning something new and getting to kind of get my feet wet really slowly at that part-time, because I knew what it would be. And then I was also trying to manage this. And I don't want to say on my own because I got Kurt too, but Kurt's busy managing the rat side of it. He's actually about an hour away now. So there's a lot of, about 45 minutes. Yeah. So he works his ass off taking care of all the rats and doing all the editing. So like, I was like, yeah, I can do all this. Well, the truth of the matter is I probably could not do all that. And if I did do it all, I would have done it all really shitty. Like I wouldn't have been up to the par I needed to be. So meanwhile, while we're trying to help him out, again, things come together for a reason, right? It helped me out just as much, if not more. So like, as much as he needed something, I needed it too. I just didn't know it. So like, getting to have that help here, and as I saw how much help it was and how much like it was just like, man, there's no fucking way I could have done this on my own. So like having Caleb here has been such a huge blessing for us You know, he says he's never, and I hope he does. I mean, I want him to have his own life too, but I'm also like, yeah, dude, stay as long as you like, because like I need you, you know. And even if he ends up doing something else, I still want him to be just as involved, even if he doesn't live here at some point. Because someday he may, you know, I don't know, like, I don't know, have a family or some shit. I don't know why. I don't have kids. The best decision I ever made was not to have kids.
I've got 3 kids: a 16-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 6-month-old.
Woo! You're busy, man.
Let me tell you, they're fun.
They are.
They present their challenges, and they're great. I love all my kids to death, but they make you want to rip your hair out, and they make you gray real freaking quick.
Yeah. I mean, I love kids. I just don't want them. You know what I mean? And I got to kind of cheat. I pretty much have some almost like de facto grandchildren in some ways. So I'm really close with a few of my nieces, and they come up and visit, and they bring their kids, and we travel with them, and it's a really a much closer relationship than you would normally expect from like a great uncle, you know. Those are my kids, you know what I mean? So like we get to do all that kind of stuff, and I get to have the fun of being the guy who gets to spoil them and do fun stuff. I don't have to raise them, you know what I mean? And that's great. I get to cheat. Like, it's wonderful.
Well, the other thing is you don't really, I mean, I don't know what your normal car is, but your play toys aren't exactly kid friendly, Matt. I mean,
I do.
You only got 2 seats unless you're throwing one in the trunk here.
Well, we got some other cars. I mean, I've got seat just dropped.
Yeah.
The seats fall apart.
My seat's been doing that like one at the past 2 lives. I'll be sitting.
I was going down all the way for a second. I thought I was going down. So my life switched before my eyes.
I do like cars. There's no doubt about that. You know, because I'm very cheap. All my cars are old. So when people are like,
the better cars are the older ones, dude. And I think you've got one that I really love too. I've got a 70. I got a 74 Vet. It needs some love. I had it all doing great, and I kind of ignored it for a while because I got busy, and I'm gonna have to go back through that thing. I've got an 06. That's my one I drive a lot. And then my wife got mad because she's like, "You always take the fun cars without me." That's kind of my form of therapy. So I got her a 93 that happens to be purple because everything's got to be purple in my world. So she's got her own to drive whenever she wants. Then for my regular cars, I do have I'll take to shows. What I use every day is a Jeep Gladiator. And that's not old. I mean, that's, they didn't even make them that long. And then my wife's got a crossover. She got an SRX. So I'm like 15. So we got some normal cars, I guess, but I like cars. I used to be a motorhead, man. I had my first car was a 97 Camaro RS 30th anniversary.
Nice. Now, was that the LT one, or did they already have the LS done?
See, that would have been the LT, but since it was a V6 model, because my parents didn't want me having a V8 as my first car because they knew what the hell I would do.
I've been there.
But let me tell you, that V6, buddy, governed at 110.
Yeah. Well, my car in high school was an 88 Pontiac Firebird with the V6.
Oh, dude, I love the.
They look great. There was that little 2.8 liter. That thing had no balls, man. I could stand in my engine compartment, right? That engine was so small because it was made for a V. I could stand there. There was room for me. I was smaller then, but I could fit in the engine compartment if I wanted to. It was ridiculous, man.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, I love it.
After the 97, I had an 01 SS because someone nailed me in the RS. Got an 01 SS. Drunk driver hit me head on a one-way road.
But that was an LS one
in the city. That was the LS one, dude. I just got new tires on it. New tires. They weren't even a week old.
But that's a lot of money on those cars. Tires are not cheap on them.
They were Z-rate. They weren't cheap tires.
Yeah. That LS motor.
And around that time was when Fast and the Furious was big.
Oh.
What did I do? But I got this. It's like, well, hell, these little rice burners seem like they're pretty snappy in these movies. Like, we'll go. So when I got an RX-8, well, that lasted maybe 2 months until I couldn't beat a Ford Probe on a highway. Like, we were just neck and neck. I couldn't pull past. I was like, no, we're done with this shit. Like this, I couldn't handle that. Just couldn't handle that one. So got rid of that and got an 01 Trans Am WS6.
There you go. That's one of my favorite looking cars of all time.
I'll have to send you pictures of it, dude. I cammed that sucker up. Everything under the hood was polished stainless or polished aluminum.
Yeah.
Even like on the actual underside of the hood, polished stainless mirrors.
And they had that big Ram Air hood too, those WS6s. They looked like a bull, like snarling out. Yeah, I mean, just big, huge nostrils. Great looking cars.
Yep.
Great looking cars.
Behind those big nostrils, dude, I had a K&N split filter.
Nice.
We had two big cones right behind those, sucking in all that air. I took out all the baffling in it.
Yep.
Because the baffling in it kind of made it go up and over. It's like, nah, we don't need that shit. We're running this sucker straight in and cold.
That's what you want.
Yep. Dude, and cammed it up, exhaust, Duke, like, oh, dude, she ran freaking amazing. Never lost an exhaust competition either. Thing, decibel meter wise, on the meter, they told me it was as loud as a freaking jet engine.
Nice.
Thing was freaking loud. Also got pulled over for it being too loud. But
yeah, probably went through a few parking garages and let it come up and down and see how many car alarms you can set off. That's always fun.
Oh, dude, I didn't do that. That would have been a fun idea, though.
It was such a blast.
Did have my case when the cop pulled me over, and my son, God, at the time, Dom would have been maybe 5, and he's sitting there in his little booster seat with shooting earmuffs on.
So he's like, yeah, you know it's too loud. I know.
I told him, I was like, but the exhaust is 50 state legal, man. He goes, I get that, but it's too loud. It's like, but it's legal. He really couldn't do anything. There's no noise ordinance or anything, but it's a good story. Then also he told my great aunt owned a drive-through or drive-in.
Yeah.
And the state troopers would always go there to eat, like, for lunch and stuff. And one day we showed up for lunch, and my great aunt goes to my son, and she goes, go tell those cops what your dad does. And I looked at her and was like, huh? Tom walks over to the troopers. He goes, my dad likes to burn rubber. And the troopers looked at me because they saw me pull in with the car. The troopers looked up at me and just smiled. I just hugged my head because it's like, oh, God.
Thanks, kid. Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah. Now they're on the lookout for. It's the only white Trans Am with the blue last of the breed feathers on it in the whole freaking state. I swear.
Nice.
So like I could blend in at all. So, anyway, enough with cars. Apologies, everybody. I missed the good old days of my motorheads. It's nice to talk cars. Anna wants to know. So, Matt, what is your most exciting snake to hatch so far this year? May or not be out of the egg yet, which I think you might have that with you right now.
Actually, it just came out of the egg today. Its umbilicus actually fell off when we were here talking. So most of it still got a little bit of the umbilicus right there. But what we're looking at here, guys, is this. I get it for the camera. Is a full-blown 100% scaleless ball python. We believe it to be, now that it's out, probably just a pinstripe. And it's just so light because of the scaleless aspect. I would expect to see more yellow on it if it was pastel in there as well. But I don't think it is. Based on the pairing, it could be. We'll see when it gets some age. But it is just such a weird thing to feel. Everybody talks about that. When it's setting on you, it literally almost sticks to you. That's the way to describe it.
Scaleless ball pythons freak me out. I'm okay with like the scaleless corn snakes because they've got the belly scales at least, but the scaleless ball pythons, they just kind of freak me out for some reasons.
It's weird. You know, I'd touched them before, but I'd never really held them. Last one I touched them, they were first born. They were brand new and they were running like 20 grand a piece. And we filmed one that WHS, I think it was, had at Daytona years and years and years ago. And so, getting to hatch one, you know, as much as I came up following Brian Barczyk and getting to have that moment that he had, you know, meant a lot to me. So the cool thing is its tail, I don't know if you'll be able to see on camera, is almost a different color than the rest of its body. I don't know if that's because it's somewhat translucent right now, but and there's not as much stuff there. It probably like look the same, but like right now it almost reminds me of a copperhead having a different colored tail. It's not bright green, but it just, you know, the face of these things too, you'll see no heat pits, but it's still there. The senses are still there. It just doesn't have the scalation to cause the pits. They're just really kind of cool, man. This is big exciting thing. We've had some cool stuff this year already, but Nothing kind of like this. So we've separated out from the rest of the clutch. We're going to let it shed on its own away from its siblings, because what I've been reading lately for more success is people actually kind of keeping them a little bit drier, and then they're bumping the humidity up when they get close to shedding, kind of like the old days, right?
Okay.
So we're going to try that. The thought is if you keep them too wet all the time to keep the humidity up, they will actually have bigger problems with like scale rot and those kind of skin diseases and other snakes, because they're more susceptible to that being on the wet, because the skin's directly on the wet. It's not wet scale skin. So having that barrier missing makes them a little more susceptible to that. I am really curious to see how this project goes. I know, like, recently, I'll let you put this thing back on heat really quick. We'll set it back in there. Oh, it feels so weird. Recently we have, you had the gentleman on that had the claim with the scaleless on eggs, and I know there's a lot of debate about that, and I'm not going to pick that scab open, but I, for one, hope it is true. And I think as a hobby, we were really quick to condemn that, just because they are going to take longer to get to age. They are going to be a longer process. There is going to be a learning curve that happens with something like that I think we've experienced as a hobby already. People are starting to figure that out, and you're starting to get more females that are getting to size. The first snakes born were males. We know of the first two born, one of them was a male. We know that for a fact, right? Or we know both of them were males, sorry. One of them died. We know that for a fact. The other one, I believe, stayed in the possession of the original breeder, and he kind of stopped messing with it because he got so much blowback. So then it was ground zero, starting with the scaleless heads again. And that takes a while then to get there. And I think the survivability rate early on of full-blown scaleless probably wasn't that good, because people had to learn how to keep them. And, now that we're getting more information out there of certain things, it's helpful. Also, when people would make them, what would they do? They would drag them around everywhere and show them off, and they would take them constantly every show just to show they had one or whatnot. And that doesn't really help them grow. And then you have an animal that eats like shit anyway because it goes into shed so frequently, which is going to slow the growth. And you're doing more things with it, which is also going to slow the growth. I think as a hobby, we were just quick to say, oh, it's inviable. We should have seen it at year 4. We didn't see it. Piss on it. It's done. And start a bunch of debate. And then there was, if you guys remember way back when that first started, one of my favorite people in the reptile world got a whole bunch of hate because he should have shared this and this and this and this and this. Well, I'm sorry. He's not really required to share what he, there's no requirement that when you hatch that you have to go on there and show it every single day. And I think people don't want to show them when they're older because they were having so many shed problems early on when we were figuring that out, that they always looked terrible. They just didn't want the blowback, right? Which I understand, and nobody's required to share every second of every day. Like, nobody owes us that in the hobby. And it's just, so it's really exciting now to see that maybe they have been proven viable. And not just that, but if they were proven viable, from everything I can tell, they were proven viable from a brand new guy that has like a handful of snakes. Not
3 snakes up until that clutch was laid and hatched. And
like,
I get the skepticism. I understand it. I've been presenting multiple different angles, even from close friends, like we were saying backstage, that made me see and think things from different angles. But at the same token, it's like I've got some stuff that wasn't shared anyway because of just time and editing purposes.
Mm-hmm.
That it's like, if you were gonna fake it, like, damn, you really went deep into faking it if you went through pages and pages and pages of vet records to make. But it's, I mean, I hope it's real, because if, I would like to see a project that was written off actually still be something, even though I have no skin in the game on it.
Yeah.
And the fact that, I mean, they freak me the hell out. So that's all there is to it, folks. They just freak me the hell out. So it's like, it is what it is at this point. But I think with the things that people were telling me that they would want to see done, or why didn't they do this? Why didn't he do that? It's like, well, I'm there thinking, it's like, the guy's brand new.
Right.
He had he didn't even know if this thing was going to do what it did. He just kind of did it for the hell of it. They figured if, it happens, it happens. But it's like when you're new, you don't think of
No.
keeping track of all these records and this and that and things like what people do when they're experienced breeders.
Right.
I know somebody had told me that if they would have seen an X-ray, they would have believed it more. Well, you could take an X-ray of anything that's gravid. An X-ray doesn't show you it's like people wanted different things of proof. It's like, well, some of those things of proof that you're saying are acceptable. I could tell you right away. If you would have been presented that, you would be like, well, there's no way to tell it's that snake.
The other thing too is, let's say it was Justin Canova that said, "Hey, this happened. Here's the only pictures I got." Nobody would say shit, right?
Yeah.
They'd all be like, "Oh God, of course that's who proves it. That's got to be right," But because it's somebody we haven't heard of, who's a virtual unknown, brand new in it, everybody wants to question 100%. And yeah, if that was me, would I have had pictures because I know what that project is of that snake ovulating? You bet. Would I have had pictures of it on eggs multiple times? Sure. I mean, but this guy isn't like that. When I think about people faking shit, I always think of how much work is it to fake it? One, that would have been a lot of work, like you said. And two, what are they gaining? What's to gain by faking this? If this guy wants to be a ball python breeder and this gets proven bullshit, he has completely screwed the pooch for himself, right? He's ruined his name. Nobody's going to trust him. He'll always be known as the guy that, did that. Yeah. So there's really, and if it's bullshit, it's going to come out that it's bullshit.
Yep.
So why would you do that? Like, there's no real gain to him to fake it. He has nothing he can gain from faking it, other than 10 minutes of people talking about him and then being known as a big asshole. Like that, and most people are smart enough to know, like, this isn't a viable path to me being successful to fake that. So, I don't think there was a reason for him to fake it.
I think the other thing that also kind of why it's believable for me is if you were faking it, why would you agree to go on a live stream in front of the whole world after you've been grilled on every social media platform you have posted pictures of this thing on? Why would you even remotely think it was a good idea to go on a live and more than likely be run through the freaking dirt and grilled in general?
Right. You're probably going that live because you want a chance to talk, not just post and say, "Hey, So I, for one, again, I don't know the guy, so I can't say he's legit or he's not. I have literally no knowledge of him at all, other than the post. But I just think that it would, looking at it from the idea of why would you do that, I don't see what the upside is to faking it. None. Do you?
No, and like we're talking about now, he's new, so he probably didn't even know that it was such a big deal to find a female on eggs. I would assume. I
don't think he did. I mean,
and my first clutches, I don't have pictures of the females on eggs or the ovulations or even the locks because it didn't seem that. Everyone's breeding ball pythons. It didn't seem that significant to me. Like, I was excited, sure, and I was, I sent Snapchats to my family and friends, but I didn't save them to documentation. I didn't have any. The only documentation I had at the time was, "Hey, this was paired to this. Look for this in the eggs." That's all I had. And
and I think too, it sounds like he got that snake as an adult.
Yeah,
right.
I think he got it at
1,400 grams is what I think the breeder said on Instagram.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I think it's like 14 or 15 or something like that.
And it's supposed to have come from a reputable breeder, though I don't know who. From what I understand, is that correct too? You read that somewhere?
Yes.
He, as far as I know, he's reputable. He is close to me. I never heard of him up until this whole thing. But
I checked out his Instagram, and not that really means anything. But what I had seen on the posts and some comments and stuff like that, he seemed like a reputable source.
Because I've heard people say, well, maybe the scale is the male. And that's why, he just put it by the eggs for the picture. And that's why all the babies are scaleless head and all that. Well, I'm pretty sure if that guy sold him the snake, sold him a male, he'd have been coming out saying, "No, that's horseshit. I sold that guy a male." Yeah. That hasn't happened. So I don't think that's a viable theory. I think it's definitely a female because we would have heard from the seller originally, like, hey, no, like that's a horse shit. I sold that dude a male. Like,
and we have on Instagram posted the photos and was like made a whole thing about saying congratulations to them. Like this is a legit thing and yada 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 and stuff. So
I think a lot of people were probably getting rid of those females because they just had given up on it, and so it's kind of cool. But if that guy can do it brand new, what that tells us is it's honestly not that hard if you get him the size. That's the hope. But you got to get him the size, and you got to get him to actually lock when they're not in the middle of shedding and everything else. And that's going to be the big thing. The big thing is going to be keeping them well fed and getting them there without getting them sick or, skin diseases or whatnot. So the guy who originally had it raised it up had to do a hell of a job. So shout out, kudos to that guy for getting it there. And then, the new guy took it and paired it and holy shit, got eggs, which just shows it's doable.
I say it's and the other thing is too that I've also even thought about back and forth is like maybe it was one of those things. Lightning just freaking struck, and he hit gold with it. Maybe it's the only time this snake will do it. Maybe she'll do it again, and then he'll document it better for everybody to kind of lay it to rest. Who knows?
Well, I even wonder if there's people who weren't even trying to breed him because it was a waste.
Yeah.
Or not really kind of like, well, I'm not going to burn one of my good males on that. I'll throw it in there once or twice and call it done. And now I think you're going to see people who have them up the size really pushing it to try and see what happens. And if we get 2 or 3 people saying, because everybody's going to be skeptical of the first guy, right?
Yeah.
You get 2 more on there saying, hey, look, here it is, I documented it. Then you're going to see that project pop back to higher desirability, I think. I don't think it's going to go back where it was because they are more complicated, to raise. But I think you'll see the interest be there because they can make some beautiful, beautiful animals. They're just so clean and so light.
That's one thing. Like the scaleless head itself, it's a pattern mutation plus an enhancer, basically all in one, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's kind of hit and miss. Like I see it a lot in pinstripe, and it's probably because I have a lot of pinstripe scaleless head. Most of my scaleless head stuff started from one lemon blast male. So that was where I got mine. And that line came from Constriction Addiction, which is the guy that was in it early on, right? Okay. Which is Daniel Allison. And so I have a lot of pin scaleless head stuff. And you start seeing in the pinstripe that pattern gets a lot more broken up. Think of the one we just showed. We put him back on heat, right? The pattern does not look like a normal pin. It's not got the traditional lines. It's just more broken and blotchy. You see pin. It's obviously pin, but it doesn't look like you would expect a pin to look. And that's pretty consistent with them. So you'll even find scaleless head that don't have a missing patch of scales. But if you look at the head, the scale pattern is rough. Like it's just not good. And there'll be skin breaks in between the scales, but not a missing patch. And rather than being this nice uniform, they're all kind of janky. That's the best way to say it. So you'll see, and then some of them will have a big missing patch. And I kind of remember too, in Caleb and I were talking about this the other day, they had albino corn snakes back in the day. And for a long time, they weren't very viable. There was all kinds of problems. And as more and more were produced and it got more and more stable and more crossbred, more crossed out, now there's albino corn snakes everywhere and they really don't have any production problems at all. Right. So we may have just been involved in that too. I mean, that whole scaleless thing started from 2 imported animals, and that was it. And all the scaleless that came from that early on, they were all instantaneously being bred back, trying to make scaleless right away instead of being bred to other things. And then you get people like me who are poor when it gets down to a little bit lower level. We're buying for 4 digits, not 5 digits, and we're taking that animal and we're breeding it to non-scaleless head stuff and out crossing that blood because we were not going to buy the females. It was too expensive for me at the time. So that project starts to get more outcrossed. We may see more viability. That's the hope. So
Cameron wants to know, what's a dream snake you guys would want?
Oh shit. It's going to be different for each one of us. I mean, there's a couple things right now that are on my get list. We can go outside of ball pythons. Is that okay on that, you think? I mean,
you can go wherever you want to go with this one, man.
I really, really want to get another scaleless Western Diamondback. I miss having that little bastard so much that is definitely a dream snake for me. Kurt keeps fighting me on it. He hated that thing. He's like, Kurt's idea is, what good is a rattlesnake without a rattle? because they can't rattle. They can't produce a rattle. There's not enough keratin. So they have this little like blunt tail end where a rattle should be, and it's just not there. Which is kind of neat. I like them. So I really, really want one of those again, bad. And then albino gaboon vipers just hit the United States.
I saw that.
And there may come a time that I just can't resist having an albino gaboon. So that's a pretty big possibility as well, I think, down the road. That's probably my two right now.
Yeah.
That are just, and I'm supposed to get one. I got to get my ass to Arizona and work a trade, but I really, really want a speckled rock rattlesnake too. They are one of my favorite looking animals on the planet. So that's up there. That's probably mine.
Yeah.
Mine can all, I really like the venomous shit, to be honest. It's once I got into it, became one of my favorite things to play with. What about you?
We had one, and I love that thing. It was probably my favorite animal of all time. I usually I'm not an emotional person. I don't really cry when an animal dies. I'm upset, right? When this animal died, I bawled my eyes out and did not go to work. We had a shield-nosed cobra, S2-Ep lubricus, probably my favorite animal of all time. It was the prettiest one I've ever seen. We had one. It wasn't the most reputable situation that we got it from.
Nope.
And
that was all you, baby.
It dipped out after like a week, or maybe we had a little longer.
We actually got it eating.
It was doing and it just, for whatever reason, just went nose up. And by the time I die, I will have another one of those because I just love that thing.
I don't give a shit. If you want to get one,
I love them. I just they are like, I don't know. If someone wants, like, I'm also big into venomous too. I think that is probably one of my favorite aspects of reptiles is venomous. I do see a lot of people who want cobras. If you were to ever get a cobra, I don't think most people should have cobras. In fact, most people who have cobras should not have cobras.
Most people should have venomous in general.
That too. That would be the one to get right there, because while yes, it is still lethal, it is something that is at a much more manageable size. And if you get bit by it, it's more likely because you're doing something idiotic.
And if you want to get into venomous, the thing I always tell people always ask, well, what's the best venomous starter snake? And I've seen people say gaboon vipers and shit like that, and I'm just appalled when somebody tells like someone that a gaboon viper is the best venomous snake to start with. I always tell them, you live in North America, start with something from North America, because pretty much all North American snakes that are venomous, save one, all have the same hospital treatment. It's all crowfab. Most hospitals in the U.S. are going to carry crowfab because most places have those animals there, right? So the doctors are better trained to fix your dumb ass when you get bit. The medication is more readily available, although it ain't cheap, so make sure your health insurance is good. There's no more expensive anti-venom than crowfab out there. Welcome to America. But that's the best one to start with, whether it's a timber or a western or an eastern. Although be careful on easterns. Don't take it wild-caught easterns. There's not enough of them. Same thing can be head sub or timbers. Timbers, you got to pick your area because most of the places protect timbers. If you are going to take a timber of the wild for a keep, and make damn sure it's a male, because the females are precious in the wild.
Timbers are beautiful too. Like,
they are
probably the rattlesnake wise. I think they're probably the coolest looking.
And they're so variable. So you're in Pennsylvania, you get some dark ones, you get some ones that are greenish. Where we're at, we are on the very edge of timber territory where we're at. So I've only seen a few here in the wild, and unfortunately, they've always been ran over on the road. I have one spot where every 2 or 3 years I'll see one hit on my way to town. So I know where they're at, but I don't go fuck with them because I don't know whose land it is to get permission, and B, there's not enough of them here for us to go mess with them. Yeah. I do have one. He came from Oklahoma, where they are legal to take. He is a wild caught. We made sure he was a male, and was my first venomous snake. And I still got him. I got him circa 2012, I think, or 2013, as a young adult. And he is a big son bitch now. He's probably 4.5 to 5 feet, I would say, of timber rattlesnake, about that big around. He's a badass. His name is a Reaper. So he's
I do.
And timbers are cool, but they breed slow. That's why you don't want to take the females out of the wild, man. A male gets replaced, no problem. But those females, they only in the wild have babies every 2 to 3 years. and their clutches or their broods are small. They're only going to have 8 to 12 at best, right? Where your westerns, I mean, we had 2 really small broods of westerns this year from new females, but another first-time female gave us, what was it, like 14 total? And they'll go every year in the wild. They don't have a problem with that. So westerns, you can take them from the wild if you want to eat them, whatever. You can't really push a western to extinction. I mean, it's really, really hard to get them out of an area. They are one of the best surviving snakes in the world. They are badass. Easterns have almost been pushed to the point of extinction, in like Florida and some of those areas. They're very, very rare now and need protection because they also don't, you'd think they breed as well as westerns, but they just don't. Where those westerns, man, they breed like garter snakes, man. There's places that they have looked for those for 100 years and they're still there. Because a lot of the ranches try to control those, right? Because they do lose cattle, and people will tell you, "Oh, a cow's too big; it gets bit by a western rattlesnake, it's not going to die," and that is true. But when you go to some of those ranches out in West Texas and Oklahoma, they're so big, nobody finds a cow that's been bit, and then it dies from starvation because those ranchers don't see their cows every day. They don't measure it in acres like we do in Kansas. Their grass is total shit. So they own their ranches by square miles. They'll call them sections. Oh, I own 37 sections. They'll have 37 square miles and less cows than we cram into 10 acres. So like they don't, like we can walk those ranches for 3 days and not see a cow. It's insane. Like that's just how it is. So they do like population control on there. But there are some issues with population control, even of westerns. People used to like Texas. I don't want to say I hate the state of Texas. Texas is a cool state, but they allow like people to put diesel fuel in dens called den gassing, which will destroy those dens and they won't come back. And those things use an ancestral den. So you destroy that den, you're not just taking something you want to eat or something you want to keep. You're killing that whole environmental network. And it also is bad for tortoises because they take over some old tortoise dens sometimes. So like that's problematic. But otherwise, like our reds, we found them in the wild, or friends of mine found them in the wild, and that's how we got them. You can take those, they're going to replenish. Like, I know people who literally hunt them for food, and that's what they do is to hunt deer, and they'll rotate their dens, and it's kind of just like deer hunt land here. People won't let anybody on their deer hunt land. That's the same thing down there, man. You got to know somebody.
I know all about that for the deer hunting thing.
Hell yeah. I mean, but timbers you can't do that with. You can't push timbers and you can't push easterns. We'll run out of them. They will be gone if we do that to those snakes. So you've got to be real careful on taking those. But they're one of my timbers are probably my favorite rattlesnake. Timbers followed up by westerns, and then easterns. Actually not even easterns. Easterns are just kind of not there for me. They're big. They're awesome because they're big and I love their pattern. But westerns are like, there's so many like mutations for westerns. It's like the ball python of the venomous snake world because you've got albino, T-positive albino, scaleless, patternless. I've seen pied in timbers, believe it or not. We've got red now. I've got one that is a wild caught that looks hypomelanistic. So that's out there in westerns. There's all these things in westerns and tons more. There's hypermelanistic, which is totally awesome. We've got some of those that are captive bred. So like it's just so much fun on those westerns. That's why I really love them. Timbers, they were my first love. And timbers harken back to American history, which I like. Everybody, like if you look at the flag that was the first naval flag for the United States when we fought for our independence, it's the old Gadsden flag, which was not used for other things originally. It was used for our independence. It almost became the American flag. The snake on there, while it kind of looks like it has the diamond pattern, is actually a timber because it was designed off snakes along the eastern seaboard and east coast. And what's there? Not western diamondbacks. It was timbers up through there's not many there because that's some of the places they've been pushed out. They used to be thick up there. When Ben Franklin wrote about, because we kept getting all the prison boats sent here to the colonies and dropping off all the inmates from the England that they didn't want to deal with. We were pretty much like Australia for them. He kind of wrote in the papers about, they send us all of these prisoners. We should thank them by sending them back boats of rattlesnakes. Also talking about timber rattlesnakes. They were damn near the American symbol instead of the bald eagle. He actually fought for that and lost. So the timber rattlesnake, it's just so entrenched in American history that my love of it is great. There's a really great thing written as The American Guesser, which most people think was Ben Franklin. Sorry, I'm getting way off topic.
No, you're good. This is like this. I'm learning stuff. I'm enjoying this. Keep freaking going.
So most people think it was Ben Franklin who was the American Guesser, and I can't quote it, but it basically talks about how the rattlesnake is a great symbol for America because, well, it wants to be left alone. It doesn't want to be messed with. It just, if you leave it alone, you won't even know it's there. And if you mess with it, it's going to warn you. It's got a system where it's going to warn you. And although it's small and unassuming, and it keeps its weapons hidden, it doesn't rattle its sabers, right? If it chooses to strike, it's going to do that with deadly force. And it's often underestimated because it's just this little thing making noise that when it hits you, it's going to kill you, which back then it was. We didn't have crowfab back then, so you get bit and you're kind of fucked.
You were kind of shit out of luck at that point back then.
Yeah, and truth be told, even without treatment, 8 out of 10 rattlesnake bites are survivable, right? Okay. But you're not going to come out of that unscathed. You're going to lose body parts or function if you don't get treatment. So you're going to know you picked on this little bitty thing that kicked your ass. So that's why he thought that was a better symbol for the America, or for what became the United States of America, than a bird.
I get it. Hey, I could fully back the the rattlesnake thing. I like that. That would have been badass if that was the case, if we would have ended up with that.
And how different would we be as a country and as a people had we done that? Because had we done that, then the timber rattlesnake would have got all the protections of the bald eagle, right? So they wouldn't have been pushed out of states. Like, they're very, very rare in Minnesota. And they stretched all the way up to Canada originally, which is pretty badass when you think about it, for how cold it is and how well they were able to survive.
It gets freaking cold up north.
All up and down the eastern states, all up and down the coast, there'd still be timbers, where most of those now, there's very few. There's little pockets here and there. Pennsylvania is actually a state with a good number. Oklahoma is a state with a good number when you get around Stillwater area, but when you get west of that, you don't have any. You end up with the Western Diamondback, because that's where the territories, there's a little bit of cross, but not much. And like, they would be a lot thicker because people would have been chopping their heads off for 100 years for no apparent reason. It was just see it, kill it, instead of any other animal. There's no other animal on the planet other than snakes in general that you can kill needlessly and nobody gives a shit, right? Yeah. I remember when I was working in I got in a fight with some of my supervisors one time because I told them flat out, I said, man, the next time I see, because I worked a lot of rural areas sometimes, somebody swerved to hit a snake, because they'd swerve to hit any snake, right? That's what they were told. They're supposed to hit those snakes. I said, I swear to God, I'm going to pull them over and arrest them for animal cruelty. They said, you can't do that. I said, bullshit, I can't. Watch me. And they said, no, that's not against the law. I said, read the law. It absolutely is against the law. It doesn't say unless it's a snake. I looked in there. It doesn't say you can't, but if you go out of your way to harm something with no intent of doing anything else, like if they swerved to hit a possum, we could make that charge. We don't, because they're a nuisance, but we should. We absolutely should be charging people with that. I get it. Sometimes you hit something. I've hit a snake before. I didn't want to. Just they don't always see them, and couldn't swerve. I'm going to wreck my damn truck. So sorry, snake. But or a turtle or whatever. But if somebody swerves to hit a cat, whether it's somebody's pet or a feral, we'd make that charge, right? Why wouldn't we do that for any other wildlife? Just because it ain't cuddly, and But I got yelled at for about 30 minutes and yelled back. That was a fun day at work. But I was right. The law says it doesn't differentiate. It's just list an animal, and they're an animal. So, yeah.
That's a very good point, dude. That's a very good point. Ooh, my laptop there.
Yeah. But I think the whole attitude towards snakes, especially venomous snakes, could have been vastly different if we would have had that instead of eagle. Just my thought. Eagles are cool too.
I agree with you on that, because then snakes wouldn't have been so demonized, more than likely. I mean, people are probably will still be afraid of them because they're afraid of what they don't understand or aren't educated about.
Right.
But it would be a much more common thing to see in theory.
And you'd be more educated on it. I mean, all of us as kids learned about bald eagles, how they symbolize America, right? All those lessons now would be about timber rattlesnakes.
True.
Our money, our quarters, wouldn't have an eagle on the back holding a set of arrows. It'd have a coiled timber rattlesnake, right?
Yep.
So all those lessons would come. The education would be so much better, that we'd be in a better spot. I feel like, but
Yeah, I agree with you.
I saw that comment. I tell you, some of the things that still haunt me are there's two things that'll haunt you if you work in law enforcement, at least for me, right? You have little pictures of stuff that's bad that sticks with you forever that I won't even get into. But anything involving children, man, you remember those And then anything involving animals for me, I remember those. I was just talking to a guy that I used to work with who did for his job animal control, and we were talking about doing search warrants in this house one time where we were doing search warrants because of the animal abuse. And you still have to get a search warrant. I can go into a house to save a human without a search warrant. I can't do that for a dog. It's the way the law is written. So we got him granted and, forced the door, did the whole 9 yards. And there was 3 dogs inside. One of them had already passed. It was a smaller dog. And it starved to death. Now, animal control had tried to throw food through the window so we could get the search warrant. But the door it was a situation where that door had been barricaded. They didn't know that. So the dogs couldn't get to the food. The other 2 were 2 Great Danes. And they were still alive. And the only thing I can compare them to as far as their body condition goes was if you ever watch like Holocaust survivor videos, and you see those ribs and how gaunt those are, that was those dogs. It was skin stretched over hips, it was horrible. But both of those dogs survived and got adopted out. Yeah, it was horrible. Then I still know who that guy was that had those dogs. And I still can't look that dude when I see him because I honestly want to just, I'll lose my shit. So because if that was people, he'd have been in prison forever. But since it wasn't, I think probation or something else. But I'll tell you what, karma did take care of something else for him. So I ain't gonna say too much, but karma did fix his wagon on a few other deals. So don't worry about it too bad.
Well, at least he got a little bit of, what he deserved then.
Oh yeah, he did. Let me put it like this is the best way I can put it. He went through a lot of weight loss really quick one time. Yeah, and he got a lot shorter. So there's parts of him that no longer exist. Karma's a bitch, right? So
hey, sounds like he probably deserved it though. So
I don't even care a bit. I kind of thought it was great. Honestly, I was like, fuck you, it serves you right. You know what I mean? Yeah. I can't treat animals like that. So
no, I couldn't either. Cameron says, is anyone planning to breed carpets in the chat? Cameron, I have my whole carpet clutch is sold out, except I have one that's still available technically. I am keeping it on hold just because I have another carpet that's not eating for me at the moment. And it's kind of the fallback for the person that already picked the carpet that doesn't want to take its first meal yet after, God, they've been out since July. So
we got a few carpet babies, but I haven't released them yet. They're doing great just because we were holding some stuff for specials and things. But this year we won't produce any carpets. So unfortunately, due to a heat panel becoming unplugged, even though it had the lock mechanism in it, because my carpet was doing some exploring, we did get cold and lose our female. We didn't last year on our heat. That's on me. But we've got 2 new females we're raising up, so we'll be back in carpets soon enough. And I will end up we're raising up a Brindley, I think is how you say it, and then a straight jungle that was a wow line jungle. So
okay,
yeah, we'll get those up to size. I ain't a big hurry. Carpets are kind of the side gig for me. So we're slow growing them, but they're both doing really, really well, feeding like beasts, so I can't wait to get them going though, because I love my jungle jack male. He's beautiful.
Yes, I was gonna say that jungle jack you've got, dude. He's freaking badass, man.
And he's getting old because I bought him in 2012, I think it was. So he's not old, but he's hitting 13.
He's age to him.
Yeah, he's not a young pup anymore, but he's my boy. That was my first snake when I got back into snakes. Walked into a pet shop, the one I ended up owning part of down the road, and bought that carpet. So
okay.
Nice.
Ever since I've wanted a carpet ever since I saw, I forget what year it was, but they put a carpet on the cover of Reptiles magazine.
Yeah,
and they dubbed her Cover Girl basically. And I have one of her, God's probably be her great grandsons that I purchased. So if you follow your lineage tree, he's actually the one here on the bottom.
Yeah.
That guy right there on the bottom.
I see him.
he's got lineage back to CoverGirl. So that was kind of a very symbolic. I couldn't pass up getting him type of deal.
Yeah.
It's like that was the carpet that made me want a freaking carpet.
And carpets are beautiful.
Oh,
You know?
dude, it's one of their like you, they're a side gig for me.
Mhm.
But after having that first clutch of them, it's like I've already knew I was gonna have to expand the snake room.
Yeah.
But it put that much more momentum behind having to expand it because it's like I've got 3 or 4 more carpet projects now on the back in the back of my head that I want to do. It's like, well, there's no more room in my 14 by 12 room to run that many carpet projects. So it's like
Yeah.
there's no option but to expand.
Now you
And
said
plus, I got back 2 of them from out of my first clutch.
you had a baby trying to give you some problems on feeding.
Yeah,
So are you running them in a rack or in a cage?
that all the hatchlings are in the rack.
Okay, that's what I do with my hatchlings too. I mean, I keep the young ones in a rack, and then when they get some size, we'll go to a cage. We're gonna keep them, right? So did you run a perch in there at all, or anything like that for them?
Yeah, I've got the that rigid construction netting, just kind of makes it nice swoop, and seems like it worked like a charm for everyone, all the others.
So if that's not getting it done, do you have anything in there that they can crawl inside and hide?
Yep, they've got a cave too, like one of those plastic VE caves.
Well, shit, then you got everything in there that could possibly make that thing comfy. It's just being an asshole.
Dude, like he doesn't look bad. Like he looks as good as he did when he came out of the egg.
Yeah. What are you feeding them?
Well, I've tried pinky mice, I've tried fuzzy mice, I've tried rat pinks. He's turned his nose up at all of them, but the ones that are still here, they've devoured everything that he doesn't devour.
It's kind of like once you get carpets going, they just go,
Yeah,
but they are like, yeah, it sounds like me. I don't know what else to try for that, dude. It sounds like you're trying everything I'd try. So, shit, any other ideas?
The only trick that I just got the stuff to do it yesterday was my buddy Chris there at BNS. He hooked me up with a baby chick. Chick down, wash that mouse pinky off with Dawn dish soap, get all that mouse scent off, scent it with that chick down, and hope to God that freaking does the trick. If that doesn't do the trick, then I'm completely out of freaking options.
Yeah, it's one thing too is are you just drop feeding them or are you tongue feeding them?
I've tried just live and frozen thawed. Everybody's been taking frozen thawed.
So if you can take one of the tongs, I've had some success with if I get right behind their head and kind of rub it on them. I know that sounds weird. They'll start to turn away, but they'll start to curl that head, and they'd almost feel that in their coil, and then they'll bite it and wrap. Once you get to wrap, their goal. But just kind of tickle it, a little bit of pressure, a little right behind the head, about it's just a half-inch down, so a little bit of neck, just so you can kind of bend around it a little bit, and then you're just going to kind of hope they'll take it. I've had luck with that a few times on some stubborn ones, but it's about the only thing I could think of. But the chick's a great idea. That might get it done.
I say that's my last straw that I've got for tricks. Python Addiction here says try hamsters. Okay,
right, that's probably a good idea too. I mean, just any different
maybe like an ASF fuzzy or something.
They'll eat them. I mean, once we get ours going, honestly, they're just going in the baby room with the rest of the stuff, and we just throw whatever we got back there to feed. Like, so they get rats, they get mice, they get ASFs. Now, when we first start them, we usually start on like tiny mice because they're born pretty small. I don't like to stretch them when they're young. I like to get them going, But jungles are great. Like, they're fun. Like, I love jungle carpets. They're just beautiful. I did get to see somebody have some pure diamonds at the last show I was at. Oh God, those things are cool. We just put those up on the short. It's just beautiful, beautiful.
Check out either some of the shorts. I don't know if I posted any pictures of them up on my Instagram, but my one jungle male that I'm holding back, dude, he's basically all tipping. He's got a couple blotches of yellow from what would have been like the normal jungle stripes.
Yeah.
Instead of stripes, it's just a couple little random blotches. But his whole body is freaking tipping, dude. It gives you that very diamond-esque vibe.
Nice.
I can't wait for him to have those yellows start coming in because he's gonna be drop dead gorgeous, dude.
Awesome.
I don't know if you've ever watched NPR Morelia Python Radio with Eric Burke?
I haven't. You know,
Okay.
I don't watch much because I'm just damn busy. You know,
I
like
get
I'm
that.
either here or right now I'm learning a new trade, so I'm there. And if I'm not doing those two things, I am out playing, like doing something fun. Because I mean, Caleb will tell you, I'm always doing something, whether it's here, home, or I'm gone. Like I just stay really busy. So I haven't watched. You know, I started picking up some more of Brian's videos again when he was going through the original cancer because I was just really wanting to know how he was doing. But I haven't even got to keep up with that the way I really like. So I just don't have a lot of time. I'm usually, and it takes so long, as you know now, man. Making content takes forever, right? It takes forever.
It takes like my editing process isn't that bad, and maybe my videos aren't as nice quality as what I think that they are. But like I'll hit these lulls where like I don't have a whole lot of content, but then I'll hit like when babies hatch, I do the egg cutting, the cleanup, the post shed, and then so there's like 4 videos there, and they're like boom, boom, boom. So that kind of allows me to spread them out.
Right, and it's not so much the editing; it's just the setting on making them. You know, like we're wanting to get to where we're putting out roughly 6 pieces of content a week on video. That's what we want to get to, and so like, we have a day where we film. So we got to come up, we all get together. We got to come up with something to film, and we got to crack out 2 to 3 that day. And then we'll probably end up doing a live once a week. Right now it's easy because there's egg cuttings. So like sometimes we'll have 3 lives a week because we're cutting eggs, and then on top of that, we have to turn around now. Like with Caleb and I, we'll be doing the clutch updates here in hand. We'll be doing some other easier, like maybe some shorter, just less edited, just kind of raw videos to kind of get the rest of that content up. But then with every piece of content I do, I can't just do it. So like if I do a video on Mondays on our film day, if we film 2 videos, I got to film 2 additional videos that are a little bit more in depth on that topic or a little bit more free flowing on that topic because we have to do our content for what basically is our version of, I guess you'd say, sponsors, which would be our Patreon members, right? So we got to get that content for them because without them, we're fucking dead in the water. So we do that, and we try to make sure that they get a lot of extra content and different things and see some things that others don't get to see, and hear some things others don't get to hear. Usually they get to hear me say fuck a lot more, which I say a lot anyway. But probably some more ball jokes. I don't know. It's probably bad. Probably hear some shit that I shouldn't let out in public, to be blunt. But so it's a lot. It's just a lot of time. And so much of my time now has turned into like, okay, we got to make this content. We got to keep that up. But I can't let that overshadow what we need to do in here. And that's another reason why Caleb's such a big help. Because some of the stuff that needs to get done, he's making sure it gets done while we're then figuring out content to bang out. Because it's just all of my time is cycle. My time has become a commodity that I trade. Just as much as like money would be a commodity. My time is a commodity, and I have to choose how I spend it because I don't have an abundance of it. Is the situation.
Time is money. I mean, time is money. Simple as that. Time is money. So
it's fun, but I wouldn't trade it. I'd rather be busier than all get out than sitting around watching TV. If I'm watching TV, it's because I'm going to bed. That's pretty much when I watch TV anymore. Or if I eat dinner, I'll put on a show, like a 30-minute show. But usually I'm eating dinner while I'm going to bed, 9 times out of 10. That's just how it works.
Yeah, I've got what I consider some people really give me a bunch of crap, which this actually has to go to Caleb. I like your freaking shirt, dude.
Oh, yeah, that actually came from, we all have some that came from a Patreon member.
Yeah, it did.
I know Matt was wearing one on a video or 2 ago, which I was going to comment. I think I might have even left a comment about the shirt. I can't remember. But trust me, I saw the rangefinder and the missile, and I knew exactly what the hell it was.
Exactly.
Yeah, they hooked us up because I went to so post quitting the PD or retiring, I did 25 years total counted for the retirement system, which really, for really counting, is 24 years, 3 months, and 1 day. Not that I actually counted, but due to rounding, it counts as 25 years. So with that, I took a month to just travel, which was great and hard because I had to turn over everything and say, okay, man, here you go. You're fucking you and you're fucking me, and I'm out. which you did great. Which and after doing that, honestly, I have much more confidence. He's probably gonna be pissed about this, that I can be gone and things will survive if I need them to, because I know he has the ability to take care of shit. So I feel better now when I'm not around. It's great. You're like, God damn it, that's a lot of work. But with that, one of the stops was Disney. I hadn't been to Disney since I was in high school. I was on my senior trip, the only time I'd ever been, and it was shitty because it was a senior trip. And we had like 6 hours here. You're all bitchy high school students that want to act like the world sucks. So I wanted to go back and just have fun with it. And of course, going to the Star Wars area, being a kid that grew up in the 80s and 90s was a big, big deal, and so I got hooked up with those shirts. They got sent to us from Josh, I believe it was, to help us have something to wear there. So it was pretty awesome. And then the rest of it was animals and wildlife. Like I did Disney, and then I did gators in the Everglades. I did snorkeling on a coral reef in a national park at Key West. I did national parks in Utah. So I think we had 4 national parks in a month. So a lot of it was outdoors in the heat. But the only really touristy kind of shit we did was Disney. Disney was a week of tourist, and the rest of it was, and even the non-national park shit. I got to play with manatees that weren't in Tuttle Creek Lake, that were actually in the intercoastal waterways in Daytona Beach area. They just swam right up to me, and I got to kind of hang out there. We got to watch dolphins swim and play, which being in Kansas, I don't get to do very often. Locals were like, okay, boomer, like, I'm glad you're excited. I'm like, I'm in from fucking Kansas. Give me a break. I don't get to see dolphins. So it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Like my man cave, it's nothing. It's Star Wars figures, autographs. I've even got autographs from just basically any actor that was in a show that I've watched a lot of. Like
nice.
Star Trek members got theirs. Some of the Ninja Turtle actors like April and Leo and Super Shredder got them. Some horror people like. I'll have to send you guys pics now that I know you guys are kind of into that shit.
Yeah, actually, like
probably think, God, this guy's like, what the hell? Why'd he drop this much money in this shit and not snakes?
No, I got a special relationship with Star Trek too. It's really,
Oh, okay.
I grew up as a kid. That was one of the shows my dad and I watched together with Star Trek: The Next Generation, right? Yeah. And one thing a lot of people I guess don't know is I lost my dad when I was pretty young. So like. That was a memory I have with him that was something we always watched together. So it's still a show I turn like when I want to go to bed. I will cycle through all of those, and then I won't watch it for I'll cycle back through all the different series of this my sleeping show. Right now I'm watching Deep Space Nine, so
I remember that.
Yeah, it's not so bad. And then I'll go to Enterprise. I really like that show a lot, the prequel. But yeah, it's so I love me some Star Trek too. It's because of it always makes me think of spending time with my dad, who died when I was about 13 or 12. So
that would be rough, dude.
Yeah. You know what though? He died doing what he loved, so I can't give him any shit about it. He loved to fish. He fished tournaments. He wrecked a boat fishing a tournament in Texas, and that was that. So I mean, I always kind of look at it. Well, that sucked. I still had good people in my life, and there's some people that never even had a dad at all. So I'm not going to be woe is me about that shit. And I was just blessed to have what I had. So that's kind of been my outlook on it. But yeah. And you can't blame somebody for dying doing what they love. Like,
well, no, I'd rather go out doing something I enjoy than doing something than falling over at work.
Right. I want to live. If I live to be old enough to die from old age, I want to make sure that I have enough memories and experiences that I can look back on that I enjoy. I don't want to die from old age because I sat in my house and never walked outside. That is the biggest fear I have in life is dying and having my gravestone say, "Here lies another boring son of a bitch." You know what I mean? I don't want to live that life, and so I don't. I don't live that life at all. But sometime I'll have to slow down or quit doing dumb shit. I don't know when that is, but eventually it'll get here. But it ain't here yet.
And we all have that voice telling us to do the stupid things. It's okay, Matt. It's okay.
Yeah, I just listen to it way too much, you know? That's the problem. Like, my wife says, don't get out of the car with the alligator. I say, I'll be right back. Get on. That's what happened in Florida.
Come here,
Yeah.
damn it. Come here.
Yeah, I was like hanging out on the edge of the water with this. We found two in, like, they were hard to find in the Everglades. We went on a nighttime airboat tour, right? North of the national park. And we saw probably 15 at night on the boat. That was awesome. They come right up the boat because they're hunting. And then we saw one in the Everglades National Park. It's too damn hot. Like, they're not really out when it's that damn hot. They're going to be underwater most of the time. But we went to a place called Big Cypress and drove through there, which is a state park, and actually found two in the waterways there that were, one was about 7, one was probably about 10 feet. You know, and I hopped out both times, and I just went to the water's edge. You know, I kind of paid attention to make sure there wasn't one I wasn't seeing. And just got as close as I could, still being safe, and hang out and watch them for a while. And my wife's like, "You're a dumbass," but you know, that's what I wanted to do. She said the same thing. I chased a bear one time to watch it more. I didn't like run after it, just followed it so I could keep watching it in Tennessee. And she thought I was going to die, but a bear don't give a fuck. It was a bear. It wasn't scared of me. It was fine. So, and if I die doing that, I guess it was worth it.
Yeah. No, hey, as long as you're having fun and you enjoy what you're doing, dude, that's all that matters.
Absolutely.
Jason, I'm assuming you're talking about the carpet that doesn't want to eat, dude. I've tried leaving it in there, whether it be frozen thawed or the live, and the next day it's still there. So I've tried.
Frustrating.
The chick down's basically the last trick. Even Eric Burke even said, you know, if that doesn't work, then it's just kind of, you got to wait the little bastard out, basically. Now, I do want to, God, we've almost gone 2 hours, dude, and like, I think we covered like the second thing up top here.
Well, I'll tell you what, if we don't get through all of it, I'm happy to come back on again. So,
I was going to say, you might have to come back on, dude, because I don't know how long you want to waste up on here with me. But there are some things I do want to cover, and we actually talked about some of these things just while we were bullshitting. But tell us about your Blitz project, because you nailed something that it's a little controversial whether or not it does exist.
Yeah. So we got into Blitz pretty early on. My original Blitz male came by way of Tall Grass Reptiles out of Kansas City area. So that's where the line that I work came from. And we worked really hard on Blitz. Like, I really liked it. So we did a lot of holdbacks. We chose our holdbacks very, very carefully. You want to get that one we're selling, not the super yet.
Right.
So we're going to show you one we're going to part with here in a second, because it's just like phenomenal. There's, you know, I personally believe that Blitz, Trick, and Hurricane are the same shit. Just I do. I think they're either a lilac or the same thing. I don't think we really have three different. The idea we have three different morphs that look and do the exact same thing. Let's charge more for one of them is just asinine to me. So I think they're all the same. So this is pretty typical for us. This is a really nice one. This is single gene Blitz, but this is about as crazy as you're going to get for a single gene Blitz or Hurricane or Trick or whatever you want to call it.
Dude, that is sharp looking. I'm not going to lie. That is freaking sharp looking. That's a great example of it. Now,
I'll have Caleb. Let's see. We can leave that one here, actually, so we can compare. We just hit. Oh, you're an angry little bastard. Don't you bite me. I don't want to be bit today. We just hit a Super Blitz, which is known as a Blitzkrieg. It's been done before. It was done a long, long time ago even, but there are some folks out there who believe it's not possible. Now, unfortunately, this one, for full disclosure, does seem to have a minor imperfection. They will show that. I mean, you know, it happens. But just to give you an idea of the difference of the Blitzkrieg versus standard Blitz. So there would be the Blitzkrieg. There's a lot more blushing. The pattern is a lot more crazy. It's just it's more blown out. It's just, you know, I'll hold up the other ones so you can kind of see both at once at the same time. So I'll give you an idea of some of the differences. Now, the Blitzkrieg that we have does have a slight imperfection down by the base of the tail. So we have to watch it as it grows. And it wasn't the only one. So it's not a thing that Blitzkrieg gets at. I don't know if we had a little bit of a spike in temperature or we opened the incubator at the wrong time, but we had, two of them that had that in that clutch?
I think so.
And the other one's definitely not a Blitzkrieg. So this is the only super we hit so far. I have another clutch this year to possibly hit some more supers. But honest to goodness, this is the first time we've tried to hit super blitz, right? We've never paired a blitz to a blitz before. We were off doing other shit with it. So we decided this year to go for the super. First try, hit it. So it's definitely not hard to hit. Unfortunately, we had that little bitty imperfection. So, and it is female, I believe, but it'll probably end up having to stay here because we can see if it can pass eggs or not, or see what it can do with age. Because I'm not going to probably part with that or sell that to somebody, given that imperfection. I want to see what's going on with myself. But the single gene one, actually, we are going to part with here soon. So check that thing out. But this, to me, is what a blitz should look like. I see a lot of stuff out there that's like, oh, I think this is blitz or listed as a blitz. I always question because I'm like, man, would I call that a blitz? And in truth, some shit I see I wouldn't. And that's not me knocking things. It's just like anything else. There's nicer versions and lesser versions, right? We got to selectively pick what we breed and what we hold back. But that is what the potential of blitz can do. And when we hit things that are like, because occasionally we'll get one, they're like, oh, man, maybe that's there, maybe it's not. Typically what I do is I wholesale that to a pet shop as a normal. That's because I don't want to sell it as a blitz if it's not the quality that I would accept for my own. I don't want to sell a maybe blitz. We're not ever going to do that. If we're selling a blitz, it's because we truly believe it's in there. Some combos it can really, really hide pretty well. I'll show you a really cool one here.
I've got one coming from Jeff and Angie there at Celtic Balls. It's a pastel leopard acid blitz. I think yellow belly might be in there too. I forget. But just having acid in there really throws everything for a freaking loop.
Oh, I bet. And acid's something I want to definitely get into. But this is another one that's a little bit harder to see it in there. I don't think you can see the pattern real well. I'll get it closer. But there's blitz in here too. This is what we believe to be a banana blitz black pastel calico. If we're missing anything, it's the black pastel because we didn't get as many black dots as I thought I would when it grew up. But it's got good numbers, so we'll just kind of have to wait and see. But the blitz calico together reacts funny, so it's very, very clear. Oh, scared it in the tail there. That blitz and calico are there together. I can show you a straight blitz calico too. So this girl had eggs this year, and I'm really excited for that because we're going to layer mahogany into this. So I can't wait to see what the mahogany does with it. And the mahogany is a guarantee. I used a Suma, so I wouldn't have to try to identify it. It would just be there. Our clip's already laid, right? Where did we stick it over here too? Yeah. We did, and we stuck it down here. So this would be, hi girlfriend, a calico blitz. No other extra genes in there, just a straight calico blitz. And you don't get a lot of white typically when you do these. And they do change with age a lot. Can I have that back? But you get a lot of orange in the tail sections, right over through there on the bottom. And then you get just a crazy pattern tail, and a lot of pattern arboration.
That pattern is freaking wacky and amazing on that thing, dude.
Yeah, so when we did this, originally what I expected is not that. Kind of threw me for a loop because we were the first ones that I know of that ever did a blitz calico. And there was, kind of went right in the middle, didn't I? So get on a screenshot.
Share the screen, damn it. Share the screen.
I used the force. So we basically, I expected it to kind of look like a pastel calico with a busier pattern. Because you'll get pastel at the bottom. There's a little bit of lighter color, almost white. Then you get to the pastel. Blitz kind of has the same look to it at the bottom. So I thought, well, maybe I'll get some really high white with a busier pattern than pastel and some darker tones. And I got that thing. And I'm like, well, fuck, the only it could be is it can't be anything else because the only two genes in the pairing were calico and blitz. When we were pairing those up, and so having worked with a lot, we weren't trying to pair up to 4 and 5 gene animals because it gets so hard to identify what the hell you actually have when you're making shit that hasn't been seen before, right? So we started by pairing to single gene animals and things of that nature so we would know exactly what we were looking at. So if I said it's a calico blitz, you can bet it's a calico blitz and not a, yellow belly pied at this, whatever, and we are going to be pushing. Oh, you know what? I'd love to grab if you don't mind. The one we're raising up. That's the I think it's calico pastel blitz head axanthic.
Oh, yeah.
So we are working. I wanted to also see, so what happens when you have the calico and the blitz along with pastel, because you get that crazy pattern. So absolutely put all three together, right? And I also had to get blitz into my axanthic project. So we're raising this male up here, which is one we produced. And this actually looks exactly like you would think a calico pastel blitz should look, for the most part. You know, like you get the high whites. This was kind of what I expected, just darker colors. I bred the original one I didn't get. So really cool animal. But you get darker tones too than what you typically get with just a straight. And then you get that tail, which, you know, it has the orange on the bottom. So that is when you put all three together. Plus that one's had axanthic. So I'm really looking forward to taking that and throwing it into some of my axanthic projects and seeing what we can get out of it. So,
and everybody, just so we're all clear, Matt works with the best line of axanthic out there. So Nathan, Chris, everybody that gives me all that crap, the best line of axanthic, guys, the best line.
That's SK line. So here's my belief on axanthic. You know, there's really three main lines that I think about. You know, and I know everybody's got their own shit out there, but we're going to talk about three main ones. You got VPI, you got TSK, and you've also got Miguel's Jolla. Thank you. I always want to forget the last name of that. You know, if I was going to recommend people which line to get into, I would always say you want to get into SK or VPI. I'd leave Jolliffe alone. It's not that Jolliffe looks bad. I've seen some great Jolliffes. As a matter of fact, the first snows were Jolliffes, and they were fucking amazing. But there's just not as many out there, so it's harder to get new things in, and it's harder to find people who are looking for Jolliffe because there's not as much of it out there. That's the only reason why I would steer clear of it. But VPI and SK both have a lot of them out there, so you're going to find stuff to buy and stuff to sell, people to sell to, which is important. The line itself of axanthic matters less than how it was put together and who you buy from. So, you know, there are some shitty examples of VPI axanthic. There's some shitty examples of SK axanthic. And there's great examples of both, too. You know, we get in this mindset with ball pythons, I think, and I think it's because ball pythons attract people who are new, including mine. I mean, we all got our start there, right? So most of us do. So, you know, it turns into this, I want to stack gene A, B, C, D, and E together. And we lose the idea of, like, wanting to get that best example, the quality in, quality out mantra, you know, and that is very important in things like axanthic. If you're not picking snakes for a certain look, you're going to, you know, just because it's got it in there, that's where you're going to fail yourself in something like axanthic, and you're going to have things that don't look as good. So when I got my first axanthics, there was really two main people I got stuff from or through. I mean, sometimes it was from a third party because, like, you know, somebody else had bought it and I know where it came from, so I'd get it from them. But it all comes, you can trace almost all of it back to Tall Grass Reptiles and also John Dog, which is JD Constriction. And I think that it's hard to argue that JD Constriction doesn't have some of the best axanthics out there, bar any line. I don't give a fuck what line we're talking about. You look at his shit, it's on point, period. End of discussion, you know? It's hard to argue that. We also did get one that was really nice and throws really nice babies by way of Ben Siegel, you know, before, like, there's some things that went crazy there before that. That is actually a really, really nice one that we've mixed in there because it is such a nice one. But just be careful on the axanthics you get. Make sure you're getting high quality wherever you get them from or whatever line you work. That would be my example. My other thing I would tell people is, you know, if you get SK, we chose SK. It was the first thing we found. And we found a guy who had stuff that he'd gotten originally from John. He was getting out. Then I bought more from John. Then I got some more from a line of John's. And then I got some from Tallgrass. Kind of how it all went together. Oh, I forgot too. I should mention there's another place we've gotten axanthics from. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention them. That's Tails and Scales out of Wichita, which is another John. And they are also top notch. If you've never seen their shit, they rival what John Dog does. Tails and Scales is just, they're on point. And that's John Stoltz. John doesn't do a whole lot of social media, and Stoltz is a guy that kind of just, you know, he's an old dog that likes to stay in the background, been at it for years, but that guy makes some of the best shit out there. I mean, he just does. He's been at it for a long time, and you won't even always see his name. So sometimes you see it in his name, sometimes you see it in some other guys. There's a lot of guys that work together out there. So we got a lot of stuff from them too, like our pinstripe axanthic and a few others that we've worked into our collection. So I just didn't want to forget to name them because they make good shit. But it's all about the examples you get. and then the examples you keep. That's what's going to give you a nice example.
No, I agree 100% because I had John Daig on as well. I think that was season 1, and that was basically what he had said. He goes, "You can have good and bad of every freaking line there is." He goes, "It's just a matter of how you making sure you use the best examples to keep producing better animals."
Yeah, and the funny thing too is when you get to best examples of morphs, it's not just axanthic; it's any morph out there, right?
Yep.
Any morph out there. And the funny thing is what may be the best example for a project you want may not be the best example for a project for somebody else. You know, like you have to look at what your end game is and then decide how you want to go forward. Now, for axanthic, it's pretty much the same across the board for most of us because most people are trying to get black and white. That's what we really want to do with our axanthics. There's really no other path to go there, right? You're trying to get black and white, you're trying to delete color. But when we're talking about things like fire, and there's 47 different lines of fire that are all fire, you know, there's different examples of what you may want. Maybe you're wanting that richer black and less flaming on the sides. Maybe you're wanting all the flaming. It depends on what your end game is and what you're trying to make in your head. So for people starting to breed, I would tell them, find a snake you want and think about how not just I want a leopard blitz pastel, but not just that, but how do you want that leopard blitz pastel to look? And then as you're going and you're getting snakes to make that animal, think about how that snake's going to look in that pairing. Like, how's it going to look? Like, what traits of that base gene are going to carry over that are going to make that animal look not just like the 3 genes are there, but the way that you want, the example you want. And when you get to that point where you start to be able to see that and push to that quality to make the item that you actually want, you'll be onto something, And I actually learned that a lot with spider gene. I know that's the taboo thing, right? But I still love my spiders. They don't make any money, but I like them.
I freaking love spiders. That was actually one of the topics I wanted to cover anyway. So right on. You're like reading my freaking mind, dude.
But if you look at a lot of the spiders we produce at this point in time, one thing you'll notice is there's very few alien head spotting, right? It's almost all the barbed wire pattern, very few spotting, unless you add a gene in that causes a lot more of it, which there are some of them out there. And that was by design. Everything we held back had to have 0 to only like 2 to 3 little alien head spots. Any more than that, I wouldn't keep it. Even if it fit my project, it got the fuck out because I didn't want that. I wanted it to be clean. And now we can consistently reproduce clean spiders almost every fucking time. So that's kind of the point of like line breeding, and I had a guy get kind of mad at me one time because I said something about my line of blitz. He's like, oh, every other breeder, all these breeders need to drop the ego about the my line. Like, my line doesn't mean that I'm the one that started it. Like, I'm not the first produced blitz. I can tell you who I got it from. I don't care. But it's the line that I'm working to be the way that I want it to be. And like, that's when I talk about, well, this is my line. It's because I'm 4 generations in. I've selectively picked back what I want to reproduce babies to look the way I want, not just be the gene, but the gene that looks this way. So that's, and I love spider. I do.
Dude, I produced one of my dream animals. Actually, what was it? This was my first year I produced one of my dream animals, which was an OD bumblebee.
Mm-hmm.
Thing was freaking fantastic. It went on Regis Python's King of the Hill. And I was surprised as all how wanting that he picked that snake for that little challenge thing. But the thing went through one King of the Hill, one King of the Mountain even. And it was just a gorgeous animal. I did end up letting it. I did end up selling it just because he didn't. I held on to him just because he was a dream animal.
Right.
And I got real with myself. It's like, you know what? It's like this, because I let him go this year. It's like this season I've got the chance. And I think she's going to go because I just ultrasounded her today. She's at like 39 mils. And it's my OD Axanthic girl from Tallgrass. And
nice.
She was paired to my Bumblebee double-head Axanthic clown. So I've got my shot at hitting the Axanthic version of that snake, which if I'm going to hold anything back, I'd rather have the freaking Axanthic version over the yellow and black. I want that black and white. Definitely. So I let him go in hopes that I can at least nail those odds.
Right.
But dude, all the hate with Spider, I have one that acts a little goofy. And by a little goofy, I just mean when he goes to strike, he comes flying out, and I think a lot of it's just he's very food driven. He
Yeah.
comes flying out of his little cave, not really paying attention to what's where, and his first strike is like he starts on course and then just kind of veers off.
Yeah.
He gets his bearings, and then the next strike is dead on. But other than that, like he doesn't corkscrew, doesn't do any of that screwy shit everybody complains about.
It's really pretty rare, honestly, that they're that bad. You know, like I've got one right now. You know, and one thing with spider is, you know, you got to be careful of overheating it, right? You overheat a ball python, they're going to get neuro. You overheat a spider that's already got a tad of neuro and a stack of neuro on neuro, and you'll get a fucked up spider like that. So when we see these ones that are all super corkscrewy, and it's, you know, the video that caused all the problems with the guy who was like, oh, look how terrible it is. I rescued this snake. Well, there you go. You know, so we have no idea what the care of that animal was before it got that way. You know, and now everybody's like, oh, yeah, like this guy says this is so bad. And look at this evidence. Well, yeah, it's a rescue snake. I can find you snakes that are that fucked up that aren't spider because their care was that bad. You know, now spider does have neuro. No denying that. I'm not a denier or anything like that.
Do you think it's a neuro? Or did you read that paper that they did this head scans and think
about the inner ear,
malformed inner ear thing?
I looked into it. I didn't read the whole thing, to be blunt. I kind of skimmed it. I know you read some of it too. You know, it's one of the two, but to me, it's irrelevant. And the reason I think it's very irrelevant was because, I mean, when I look at an animal and I decide if I'm going to breed this animal based on my ethics, here's what I look for. One, what's the quality of its life in captivity, right? And in my experience, the spiders I've bred, and I've probably produced hundreds of them at this point. My first animals, my first breeders had spider in it. So I've been doing spider since I started. Yeah. I'm at the point I don't hold many back because it's hard. Because I love them. I love the way they look. I got goddamn many of them. Like, I got, you know, and they do present some problems when it comes to breeding because there are things that can't go together. The reason they can't go together is it's all part of a complex. So if spider's got that issue, there's about 5 other things we need to wipe off the table. If we're gonna cancel spider, we should be canceling a whole bunch of other shit, but we don't. It's only spider, which is always kind of a weird thing to me anyway. But they, you know, it just, I don't know. I kind of lost my train of thought there because I got on that. It's a hot button topic for me, man.
Well, you know what it is. That's part of the reason why I wanted to bring it up, because everybody that watches the channel on a regular basis knows that I so freaking cold-heartedly disagree with the spider hate.
Yeah, and it's,
you know, truth be told, I mean, I've produced a decent amount of spiders throughout my 3 seasons of breeding so far.
Yeah.
But I will tell you this: some of the animals that move the quickest for me are the freaking spiders.
Well, I've been slow moving. You know, I actually have been having problems moving my spiders versus other things, just because now I feel very obligated to sit down and explain with the customer everything I know about it. You know, and then that kind of scares half of them off. You know, so, but it is what it is. I don't want, because my fear is always they're going to buy that. They're going to go back and find that fucking video and then think I screwed them over. So I got to prepare them for that. Like, hey, Jim, you know, but again, I remember where I was at. So what do I choose about? Is it ethical for me? One, is it, you know, what's its quality of life in captivity, right? That's a big thing. And 2, is it viable for survival on its own? Like, I'm not going to breed animals that I have to do a whole lot of extra shit for. Like, I'm not going to do it. Spider, I don't see anything that indicates they're in pain. You know, there's nowhere you can push or poke on them where they react like they're in pain. You know, and snakes do have pain. I mean, if you have ever seen one that like heart attacks or strokes out, they'll often bite themselves because they attack where it hurts. You know what I mean? I've seen pictures. I've never had one do it, but I have had a rattlesnake bite and kill itself once when it missed prey item. That sucked. That was a little massy. Yeah, it's rare, but it happens. But anyway, like, that's what I'm really looking for. So they don't feel pain. Like, they're not in pain all the time. This animal isn't walking around hurting. You know, they are able to pass stool on their own. You know, I've had to help a few, but I've had to help a few other things too. Like, that's a few babies on occasion. You know, they're able to strike and catch food on their own. And I haven't found them to be really any less accurate than most other snakes. It's, you know, now would I give the spider a huge enclosure that they can climb all over in, like a super tall enclosure, and try to turn a non-arboreal snake into a green tree python with a spider? Probably not. But they don't really do that in the wild. People are like, oh, they climb. Yeah, they'll climb if you give them something to climb on in the wild or in nature, but they're not going up high. That's not what these snakes do. They may go over something. They may get their body off the ground to cool off. They'll do things like that, but they're not going to go like a green tree python would be, or a carpet python maybe, being a semi-arboreal snake way up in the air if they want to be and catch birds and shit. Not their game. That's not what they're made for. So it doesn't really affect what they do on a daily basis. There's no ill effects. I feed my entire collection live because for me, I hate wasting animals. So if a snake doesn't eat a rat, the rat goes back to the colony. So it's a numbers game for me, and why I choose to do live. It's not to be mean or because I enjoy watching it. It's also, there's studies out there that show that they heart attack to death pretty quick. It's not a slow constriction process. The heart beats and blood actually backflows into the heart. Of course, that testing was done on a bigger constricted and ball pythons. It was on Burmese using rabbits, so it's using a bigger prey on them too. So when there's so much constriction, the heart beats, but the pressure going backwards is more than the heart puts out, and it backflows in, and it causes a bad rhythm. That's why snakes aren't all scarred up in the wild. Because if they were really slowly killing their prey most of the time, that prey would fight, and in the wild, snakes would be scarred up as fuck, because every time they're eating, they'd be bit, scratched multiple times. We don't see that. That's why the testing happened. So I do live feeding even with my spiders, and there's only one animal in my ball python collection I have to feed pre-killed to, and it happens to be a spider. That was because it's one I got as an adult that was raised that way, and it just doesn't like live food. My carpet python's the same way. That fucking thing will not eat a live rat to save its ass. Like, it just won't. I don't know why. So what I do is I fresh euthanize one. I offer to the killer zebra bee male. If he doesn't eat it, because sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't. He's a ball python, He may take a few weeks off here and there. Then I go right to the carpet, and the carpet takes it. If he eats it, I fresh kill another for the carpet. And again, I always go in that order because I don't want to waste a rat. I hate killing something needlessly. Like it's not. Same with, if you're going to hunt something, you eat it. You use it. You don't kill anything without a need to kill it. It's wasteful. So I have no ethical issue breeding spiders. My big things, and there are things I'm ethically against. I am against breeding anything in the 8-ball complex. I won't do it. Tried it once, use a lower incubation temperatures, did all those things, used a separate incubator to keep it like super level, and it still fucking was born king to shit. So I won't do any 8-ball complex. I won't do caramel on purpose at all. I won't breed a caramel. There are things I won't breed spider with. I'm not going to do spider champagnes. There's really no point. Anything where you're going to have a much higher rate of having to cull animals is where my ethics say, okay, I'm not going to do that because the quality of life isn't there, right? What always blows my mind is the people who bitch about spider, and then in the next posts they're posting, they're talking about their super black pastel pairing, right? I just kind of sit there and bite my tongue, and I'm like, you're going to sit there and you're going to chastise people because that snake may have a little bit of a tick. That's what 99.99% of them are. Unless you know what to look for, which is usually the head kind of being a little bit tilted when they're got their head off the ground.
Head tilt, that's about it.
Or if you pick them up, sometimes they get confused about up and down. That's what wobble really is 99.99% of the time. That's it. So their daily function's great. But yet you're going to bitch about that and talk about it being this corkscrewing mess and how horrible people are for making spiders. Then you're going to turn around and try to make super black pastels because there's good money in it, knowing damn well you're going to have to kill about 3 out of 4. Right? So whose ethics are fucked on that? That's my question for people. You can't have it both ways. You can't sit there and say this is bad. Oh, but this is going to get me paid, so I'm going to go do that. No, you just can't do it.
Also, the notion alone that a spider would not survive in the wild is wrong.
Yeah.
The first spider imported from the wild was an adult male. Nerd imported.
The original was an adult.
It was an adult.
It was.
And it was doing fine. So the notion that they can't survive on their own is a flawed one because the original male came from an adult, obviously surviving, obviously doing well enough to breed and not have scars and yada, yada, yada. So it can very well survive in the wild pretty easily. That's evidence to that.
Now, the scaleless, we'll probably do pre-killed on them too. I don't think scaleless would survive in the wild well.
No.
But they'll survive. But again, my litmus test isn't how would it do in the wild. It's how will it do in captivity.
Yeah.
And since we can control that environment where there's nothing to really
Right.
scratch them, cut them, hurt them. We can control that. They don't have the armor. They should be fine. Albinos, another one.
About to say albinos.
Everybody has albinos. They've been around forever. But an albino in the wild lives a shitty life because they're so damn sensitive to the sun and the light, and their eyes are bad and things like that. Nobody thinks about that.
Like a sore thumb.
Yeah, they get picked off. But in captivity, we can control that. But you can make an argument that the average albino suffers more than the average spider because of the light sensitivity every time we take them out of the cage, right? They are very sensitive to light with the red eyes. Any snake with those red eyes, sensitive to light. It just is what it is. But nobody talks about that. We're all okay with that because we don't see it, but we see that video of the snake doing corkscrew whirly whirls, and now it's terrible. Well, let's do some more research. I remember when that video came out, I got pretty pissed. I ended up doing a video like showing whatever. I pulled every spider I had out that was like an adult and laid this little bitch on the table. You know what I mean? And let's see it. Let me turn one over. And they flip right back over. Because all the things that we're getting, they can't turn over. Oh, they can't eat on their own. Oh, they can't do that. Oh, and then my favorite thing I hear is anybody who breeds spider just does it for the money. Really?
We take it.
And I have to be like, oh yeah,
it drops the value like massively.
Right, and they'll send me like some on Morph Market of like this Desert Ghost 15 gene spider, but see it's so much value, and I'm like, yeah, now look it up without the spider. Let's see what the spider added. Oh, it didn't add shit. Actually, when you took the spider out, it went up $300. Okay, yeah, that guy is all about the money. He put spider in there to get rich. It's the biggest pile of horse shit I've ever seen. Like, spider breeders, they're all about the money. You got to be fucking kidding me. Maybe back in the day when Nerd first got it, they were thousands of dollars, and we didn't really understand wobble then, though, right? But to say now you're breeding spider because you're just about the money and you're terrible for the that's just like I don't even know how to respond to that anymore. I'm just like, bro, it's a $90 fucking snake that I have to work my ass off to sell to explain this shit to people. But yet I'm about the money because I'm breeding a spider. Man, for fuck's sake. It doesn't even pay for my table to go to a show, let alone the gas. It might, if I sell a spider, it might cover pizza for me and my crew when we go to a show. Maybe. I think a male spider would not have covered our pizza bill at our last show. No shit.
We took the $2 ranch off, maybe.
Yeah, the fucking $2 ranch, man. For full disclosure, we did eat some damn good pizza, though.
We did. It was
fucking amazing. It wasn't no fucking Little C's, man.
No.
So it was good shit.
Good question, Jim. Other than axanthic, what's your favorite recessive to make spider with? Good question, Jim.
Oh fuck, man, that's a pretty loaded question. I got to think for a second because honestly, I don't mix it.
Axanthic's my main one.
Yeah,
like that.
Mine too.
With it.
It's overpowering in clown. I mean, I've got one back there, but it's overpowering in clown. And spider's a very overpowering gene. That's the one knock on it, right? It's just such a strong pattern that
it seems like in clutches, I've noticed, and this is mainly this year too, that if it was in the pairing, it dominated the clutch. Like I was telling you backstage, clutch number 4, the whole out of 4 eggs, the whole thing was freaking spider combos.
Yeah,
it just took the whole clutch. It's like, damn it! Like, give me a little combo of something else, but.
I kind of like albino spiders a lot.
Okay.
What you got to do with spider, if you're going to put it in a recessive, is you want to put it in a recessive that's really going to highlight contrast. And I think albino does a good job of that, because you get the whites and the yellows, and they look especially phenomenal as babies. They don't age as well as I'd like, you could probably get away with it more if you added something to help that with it. But I really like it in albino. So.
Now, what about?
I missed that one.
What's that?
There was a comment about something about spiders and wobble. I missed. There it is.
Amelia said, "My favorite are the people who think spiders have wobble because of inbreeding.
Yeah,
at least inbred ball pythons out there, most likely because of the lethal supers."
Yeah, there's 2 factors in why that's absolutely bullshit. You're spot on. Is one, the supers are lethal, so that lowers it, and number 2. It's an old gene, right? So the older the gene is, the more people have it, the more it's been crossed out, and the more it's been through things. Pastel, spider, Those are two of the original OG incomplete dominant genes. You know, and spider is an incomplete dominant. It's a heterozygous form that we see. The homozygous form just happens to cause death. So bad idea. But because of it being such an old gene and it's so prevalent, it's been crossed out so much.
Right. And inbreeding, coming from the science and zoo side of things, inbreeding is more of a social construct, right? There are some downsides to inbreeding, but that's mostly sib to sib, grandchild to grandparent kind of thing. When we look at conservation efforts,
that's a felony.
Inbreeding in animals is a natural behavior. We've done studies on giraffes. I used to work with a lot of giraffes, and in the wild, males don't leave the herd when they're born. They wait till they get big, and then they kick their dad out, who's probably old by now, and it can't really. And so then he takes over, and he's breeding his mom, his sisters, it's not causing as much of an issue. Like inbreeding in animals, and technically even in humans, because we are technically, if we want to get down to it genetically, isn't as bad as what, based on science, is what we think, right? I'm not saying to go, live in Arkansas or whatever, but really to some degree, inbreeding isn't as bad as, it's not the monster in the closet that everyone says it is. Like, it's a very normal thing to happen in a zoo and in a collection. And so now if you're doing, 40, 50 generations of siblings and grandchildren, there's going to be some issues every once in a while, and a higher rate of issues. But
look at the English monarchy back in the day.
But for the most part, inbreeding is a normal thing in the wild.
It is, and I think it's even less of a problem in reptiles than it is in mammals. It's just a different thing. And it's funny, you mentioned humans. So the guy I bought my house from was an anthropologist at a major university, because we have a large university bias. And so he left some shit behind, like we all do when we move, right? And one of the things he left was a Fulbright scholarship award. So some Targaryen shit going on, hell yeah. And which is a big deal to get those. I got to go. So I did a little research. I'm like, well, what the fuck did this guy do that was so important? And he wrote a paper from his anthropology, and both him and his wife are actually anthropologists. One was more into people, was, I don't know, they're smarter than me. And his paper was actually about how it's okay to marry your cousin. Now, I don't suggest anybody do that. Okay, I'm not advocating for that, but that's what this guy wrote about. And it came down to the different populations of humans. It's very, very common in tribal populations and in other cultures. And it was very normal in the Eastern Bloc of Europe and in Europe to marry your cousin from your first cousin on down. And you think about it, and back in the day, it kind of makes a little sense, as weird as it is to us. It got put on the taboo list and outlawed in America. And the reason for that actually was when a large number of immigrants were coming over, there was a fear that they would continue to do that and they would establish their own communities, and that those communities would take over and we would lose our identity because the Irish are going to all stay there. So the damn potato famine, right? So it got outlawed to force people to not do that, so they would then, for lack of a term, outcross from the family group that came over, because it would come over a lot of times as not just mom, dad, and the siblings. It would be all of dad's brothers and all of the cousins, and these humongous families would all migrate over because there was no food in other places, to force that to integrate into American society. So it was a construct of social making to force integration more than to allow those communities to become the norm. So, yeah. Yes, but yeah, so it's kind of weird to read that dude's paper. I was like, oh God, I'm like, it makes sense, but I'm still I'm never going to go to the family union looking for dates, but I understand what he's saying. But I'm glad it's a weird thing. I don't want it to become normalized, but in other cultures, I see just what Caleb's talking about. It's been done and it's not a big problem. Banging your sister's bad. Apparently banging your first cousin, genetically speaking, is not bad, but it's weird. Don't do it. Don't do it. You hear me, West Virginia? Don't do that anymore.
Yeah, that's a no-no, everybody.
That's right. It's a no. Just because science says it's okay does not make it okay sometimes.
Yeah. Now, back to the snakes thing. What with the axanthic stuff, dude, what's really cool is I acquired a pastel axanthic, and
Nice.
supposedly I've been told that you produced this sucker.
Oh, awesome.
She's a 4-year-old pastel axanthic, freaking huge, and she gave me such a freaking mystery clutch.
Oh,
The pairing was a desert ghost male, which is bred multiple times for me.
okay.
Never threw anything really goofy other than some really bright, beautiful babies that would lead to the whole DG A B C through Z.
Gotcha.
Now, when I paired him to her, because she was my saving grace, because my normal Axanthic girl, she skipped all me that year. But this girl basically came in for me for the first clutch of this season, and I got what should have been just at best. I should have hit in pastel double het Axanthic
Right.
DG. These suckers hatched out looking basically DG, 3 of them hatched out looking basically DG, and the orangest orange I've ever freaking seen. That led to multiple people telling me, I think there's an Orange Dream in it. And I looked at her, I looked at my Orange Dream Axanthic that I have from Tallgrass. I'm like, man, it's like, she doesn't look like the actual OD Axanthic. But I didn't know if you ever did any pairings to produce an OD Axanthic that you remember.
Nope. I've never done Orange Dream Axanthic yet. I was more interested in getting fire in there than I was in Orange Dream. So I've worked a lot on that. But if that thing's 4 years ago, did they happen to give you a number with it when you bought it?
No.
Bastards.
She's kind of in the shed.
Is she a raging bitch? Because if she's a raging bitch, she's probably one of mine.
Oh no, dude, she's a sweetheart. Like I said, she's huge though.
And she said she's in shed?
Looks like she's starting to go into her shed because she's got a little bit more brown. Normally she's a lot more silver.
Yep, she looks pretty good still.
I mean,
I'm seeing.
There's like nothing going on in the alien heads, which is what kind of made me think, okay, maybe the OD, but there's not as much dragging in the tail as what I would expect to see in OD.
She's got a lot of high white on her sides too.
She does, dude. She's beautiful, and supposedly she came because I got this from my buddy Nathan at Infinite Possible Pythons.
Okay.
He had acquired her. I don't know if it's in a trade or what, but the people had said that they got it from you.
Awesome.
So
it could have. Now, here's what I'd say is if you can track back to the original person that had that, they should have got a serial number from me.
Okay.
And if you can get that serial number, then I can find out exactly who that snake's parents were and may be able to get you some answers on if there's something hiding in there that I missed, because it's possible, you know.
Now here, camera's not really going to freaking show. I'll have to send you pictures. But this is one of the females that, I mean, it just, like the oranges are nuts.
Do you have a good pastel example back there?
Axanthic?
Yeah. We have some pretty...
We've got super pastels and bumblebees. I don't think we have a regular straight.
We don't, do we?
No, we just sent the last one out.
Damn it.
Oh, Nathan said he's got the paperwork. He'll get me the info. Awesome.
Hey,
bro.
Yeah, if you get that, there should be a number that'll start with a year, then it'll be a clutch number, and then a baby number. And I have that in my computer, so I can go back and look at that. The first 4 digits are the most important ones for me. And then I can tell you exactly who the parents were, and that might provide some answers. But I've never used Orange Dream. I mean, most likely its parents were either that time ago, probably it probably was my spider Axanthic, bred to my John Dog produced pastel head Axanthic. Probably shooting for zebra bees, most likely. If I was a betting man 4 years ago. Now that could have been, I don't know, 4 years ago would have been 2019. Yeah. Probably what I was doing in 2019. But because 2019, you know, I only had like 15 clutches, you know? So, yeah, I'd have to look back and see, but most likely that's the pairing. And if that's the case, that's a pairing I've done a lot. That girl's, I mean, is she in shed right now? Pandora.
That's funny because I've got a Pandora over here too. Only that my Pandora is the my Partho Super Enchi.
She's gonna kill you.
Oh, Jason Brown, thank you very much, dude, for the super chat. Greatly appreciate it.
Hell yeah, those super chats are awesome.
Dude, it's been a long time since I've seen a super chat pop up here. So thank you, Jason. Appreciate it, man.
Caleb, you got a compliment, man.
Oh yeah.
About when you did your solo vids.
Hey.
Jason says, congrats on retirement, Matt. Caleb, good job on the solo vids. Enjoying all y'all's content. Are you guys gonna get Kurt a lavender female for Christmas? I've in no way been prompted by him to ask, by the way.
So this is an old snake. She's shit. I bought her back before I even bought my house. So probably 2013 production, if I'd guess. And this is just a straight pastel head axanthic. Now she's old, so she's lost some color. But this is a John Dog produced. There's a really good chance that's your snake's mom.
Okay.
If I was a betting man, when I get the number, I'll know for sure. But most likely, this is mom right here, back in that time frame. Because
if you look at how her alien heads are kind of everything's eliminated dot wise in there, that basically that's her.
Yeah, very well could be part of that. Because my two pastel axanthic females I used were both born in 17. So they probably wouldn't have been producing if that thing is at least 4 years old yet. I would doubt. And then and one of them, you ever see the ones that turn dark at all?
Dude, all right. That's all right. The
dark, that one, the dark one.
I was gonna say, I know you're gonna bring it out because I want to see it. I had someone talk to me about. They're like, yeah, I have this pastel axanthic, but it keeps getting blacker and blacker and blacker. And being the honest, stupid idiot that I was, I went through and explained the whole black phase of the TSKs and all, all that.
Yeah.
Instead, I should have been like, I will give you this for that snake. What would you like to have in turn for that snake? But instead, I went through explaining how unique and awesome that snake was. And I kicked myself in the ass every time.
Yeah. So this is the pastel axanthic.
Dude, man.
And I know it's pastel. I produced it. Like, this is in-house produced. And well, he's got that one out. I'm gonna show you another one if it doesn't try to kill me.
I was gonna say, because you've got what you call the darkness as
well. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna pull out. The finder. Everything got moved around while I was gone. There she is. I can't ever find anything now. Girl.
Greg, what's up, dude? Greg, I'm trying a trick this week to get your male carpet to eat, dude. So I will let you know as soon as I try it. I'm gonna try it probably tomorrow night. But Greg says, Matt, you're one of the first creators I started watching. Thanks for getting me hooked.
Dude, I'm glad I could do that for you. That's what you want to do. That's usually our goal. You gotta calm down for me, girly. Yeah, you are. So this is the one. Now this is not axanthic. It's head axanthic, head ghost. 100% also in-house produced. You can just see this thing as dark can get. Yeah. And it's darkened with age too. So, and then we have another one from the outside that Caleb brought in. That's a male who we can't really get to because the camera cable's in the way. And he's also very, very dark. So this year we're going to pair both darks together and see if we get anything.
I was going to say, is it just pot luck, or is it something that can be bred for and kind of line bred?
So I honestly don't know. There's a lot of theory. I think it's more difficult than just putting two together and getting them, though. I have some theories. So if you go back in the Wayback Machine and read a lot of the old forums and shit like that, right? You remember a guy named Ralph Davis? Remember Ralph Davis? Probably still around. He wrote a long time ago about having some hypermelanistic looking ball pythons, kind of like my darkness there. They were not visual axanthic or anything like that. I don't know if they're happening. He didn't really say. But he talked about, and he described them as looking like you'd rolled them in coal dust, which is pretty accurate to what we're seeing. So I would imagine that whatever he was seeing is the same thing that we're starting to see today. And it wouldn't surprise me if it's connected somehow to the SK line of axanthics, and those might have been heads or possible heads or God knows whatever else. And then, it'd be a way to prove a head out pretty easy. But I don't necessarily think it's I think it may have its own gene in there, but I think it may be something that's, the genetic code's really long, right? We always think of it as like, oh, I have these 3 genes in there. Well, there's billions of genes in there. Maybe it's because I just watched Jurassic Park. I've still seen a little bouncing DNA strand in my head. You remember that? Hi, I'm DNA. Anyway.
Hi,
Mr. DNA. Yeah. And it may be one of those things where several things have to be right in order to get that look, which may make it, impossible to purposely breed for very well or very successfully. We know that kind of thing can exist now in ball pythons, specifically with the desert ghost, right? We've seen that. But if it exists there, it likely exists in other places. But we shouldn't go down the road where every gene now is polymorphic and all of that. That's not the case. But I do think it may be something where that gene doesn't show up in other things unless the axanthic is there to delete the color, or maybe it's just a random occurrence, or maybe it's a combination of like 5 things that have to go right to get that. And in that case, it's always going to be very hard to purposely breed for. So we're going to pair 2 together and see. But I don't think when we pair 2 together, we're going to get clutches that are all axanthic and all go dark. We've had babies go dark. I sold one last year. And it was born like a normal pastel axanthic, and it's got to size like a normal pastel axanthic, and I sold it. And Kansas weather's really shitty, so sometimes it takes a long time to safely ship things here. Took a long time to safely ship things, and I watched that snake go darker and darker and darker and darker and darker and darker. So
the whole time you're thinking, shit.
no, I sold it. I don't care. So I contacted the buyer. I said, hey, look, that thing has turned really, really dark. It's kind of cool.
Okay. I didn't think of that. I did not think of this aspect of trying to explain to the buyer.
But I'm like, I'll send you some pics of it. So I sent them some pics. I said, look, if you want it, it's yours. I sold it to you. You can have it. If you don't want one that's turning dark like that because of the project you're working, I will either gladly refund you or I'll send you a different one that hasn't gone that way. But it's up to you. They're like, fuck no, man, send me that dark one. I'm like, all right. I put it in a bag and send it off, So like, but I didn't want to send that without talking to them first and have them open that up and be like, well, this looks like shit for a pastel axanthic. No, it actually looks really, really cool, but it may not have been what you were looking for, so I wanted to reach out to them first. But yeah, that thing. And Caleb was actually more pissed I sold it. He was like, God damn it, this thing is so fucking awesome. Yeah. We shouldn't have sold it. I'm like, I know, we didn't know. Like, we didn't know.
It was like normal until it was sold, and then they just start getting and going and going.
Yeah. And it was one of the darker ones I've done.
Yeah.
That thing was fucking almost black.
Yeah, it was incredible.
Yeah, I hope it did well for whoever has it now, But like, I'm always of the mind that if I sell something and something is not as I want it to be, like if I sell something and I find out I got the sex wrong before I ship it, or if I sell something and it goes dark like that, or whatever happens, I'm always of the mind that, or if I sell something and then later on I decide, well, fuck, I think this is actually in there, I'm never going to call that customer and demand more. I'm always of the mind that if I sold it to them, they get it if they want it.
Yep.
Now, if it's not something that I think they may want still because of the way it looks or if the sex is wrong, I'm going to call them and talk to them first, like, hey, this is the deal. Like, this is my mistake. So if you want it, still yours. If I'm wrong in their favor, they get it for what I originally had. If I'm wrong in my favor, I always make an adjustment to make it right. They still want it. Like if I thought it was female, ends up being a male. I just didn't press hard enough, which is unusual, but we all get one wrong every now and then, right? Or something like that. So like we always work that way. But so I would rather my customer get more than get less. I don't ever want them to feel like, oh, you bought this snake and we said this much, but now it's this much. I don't like doing that shit. I think that shit's sketch, so I don't ever do it. It's a personal thing.
Yeah, that's a good way to ruin your name too, like real freaking quick.
I think so.
I don't know if you saw the I guess it was on Instagram. Someone posted it and blew the horn on this person
for doing that.
They sold the snake to somebody, and I guess apparently the breeder got an offer from another breeder that was higher.
I've seen that.
So that breeder refunded the money to the original buyer, sold the snake to this other person, and told the original buyer, well, if you want to beat this price, let me know. but otherwise it's going to them. It's like, dude, it's like, no, it's like you sold it to them.
Yeah.
Like, sorry if you lost out on a little bit, but I'm pretty sure
Yep.
losing out on a couple of $100 is worth keeping your reputation over sinking your reputation before you even got it built.
You know, and my advice to new people getting into this is just before you do some shit like that, just stop and think, what would you really want if you were the customer?
Yep.
You know, even if you're getting some shitty news, like maybe something went totally wrong here and you're getting a call from the breeder who's telling you some bad news, and how would you want that presented, and what would in your mind make you think, man, this sucks, but that dude took good care of me? You know, that's how I want to treat people. Or, you know, that you don't feel like you got taken care of as a customer. You know, so on that one, you eat the loss and you send the steak. I mean, you made a deal, you honor it, you know. And I've heard people say, well, customers do this and customers do that. Well, they're fucking customers, you know, like you can't control them, but you can control what you do as a business, and you should, you know what I mean? And if I have a customer do some silly shit, and which is pretty rare, but if you have like, you know, want to buy something and then back out, and then or this or that, you know what I mean? Then I just stop, like either stop selling to them, I feel, or, you know, I will not work with them on a price if I would work with somebody else, because I'm like, no, you're fucking me over. Like, I don't, you know, like if I find people who are buying my animals just to resell them, I tend to not give them the group discount. Sometimes, you know, when people buy 3 or 4 snakes, you come up with a discount, right? We all do that. Because you're moving 3 or 4 at once. It's just kind of nice, you know, especially at a show or something like that, or if they ask, or, you know, but like, I won't do that anymore if I find that they're like just buying them and flipping them. I've had that problem come in, whether they meant to or didn't mean to, you know, just shit like that. But you take care of your customers as best you can. You don't blame your customers for shit. They get to be customers. I'm fortunate. Most of my customers are people I know anymore. And when we price our shit online to them only, we try to price it really, really good. There's built-in discounts already, depending on like how they're doing things. Some of them are like 35%, which is pretty badass. And so I don't have problems, you know. I mean, we do like a lot of payment plans, but all of our people end up paying us for the most part. Some of them, you know, will take, they always discuss with me, and it's good. I like my customers, but yeah. You just don't do that.
Patreon helps you move snakes as well, too. And they're obviously getting some sort of a discount. So,
you know, for the longest time, I didn't go to shows, and I really missed going to shows. I like shows. Shows are like, I love going to them. They're just fun, right? But we did the Patreon thing, and what we really do is we just offer all of our animals there first. So they get first access. We're really going through a revamp right now to make that a smoother system and easier to find what we have, because as we grow, we have to change, you know. We actually just had a meeting the other day to get some things figured out. So those changes are going to be coming very, very fast, which is basically need to sit down and type them out. Which I haven't had time to do yet, but I will get time to do that. But by the end of this month, at least, or by the end of next month, because the month is almost over. They also get monthly specials. They get that every month. And then depending on the tier level, they get discounts. So it's, yeah. And then Jay Slithers, I always had to point out to people, that is not Slither Reptiles. So don't give that guy shit. Like, that's not Slither Reptiles. Slither's in his name, but nothing to do with those assholes over at Slither. And sorry to run somebody through the mud on your channel, but I can't stand dogfighting. Fuck those people. So,
seeing those pictures, yeah, no, he deserves every bit of being run through the freaking dirt that he.
He shouldn't even had a chance to have those pictures. Dude's convicted twice of dogfighting. That's enough. Like, you know. I screamed at Michael Vick when he came back in. If I actually went to a game just to fucking yell at that dude for dogfighting for 3 hours of a football game, every time it was quiet, I made sure he heard me call him a piece of fucking shit for dogfighting, you know, because he had no business being there. Like, that's my opinion in the world. You don't fight dogs. You just don't do it. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. So yeah, we have a really great Discord too. That's a big benefit for them, you know, but we're going to try to make it even better. That's my goal. Like, I'm really excited about some of the things we're going to do. So yeah.
See, I don't have a Patreon, but I started like the YouTube channel members thing that YouTube offers.
Mm-hmm.
And I came up with several different base little package things.
Yeah.
And since we've had our son, it's been really freaking like the one thing is like monthly lives just for members only. And I apologize for any members that are watching this. I've been slacking on that big time. Just time is not on my freaking side on it. It's come to the point where it's like, you know what? Maybe I need to just drop that aspect of the channel for now and just pick it up when, because that's one thing. Like the support's greatly appreciated, but I'm like you. I want people to make sure that they're getting what they're paying for, and that they feel like what they're paying is appreciated.
Yeah, and one of the things that we sucked at, I think everybody had something like that. Mine was getting T-shirts out, and the problem was there's no good way to track who's been there, who hasn't, and I am not the most organized individual in the world. So that was a big, big struggle for me. And there's probably people I still owe a T-shirt to, but if they get one on them, we get them taken care of. So like we're almost all the way caught up. There's just a handful left that we got to get caught up on that we know about. And we'll be doing a new order to get that caught up. There were some unique sizes and some things I didn't have, so I had to wait till I could get a big order put together. I could actually make the T-shirts viable to order, which they are going to be now, which is awesome. So we'll get those caught up and then the rest. But it is hard some of those times to do that and to keep up on it. Some of the things that we put together ended up being more work than we realized. You know, like you thought it'd be this, it ends up being this. And so then you're like, well, I'm going to try it this way. And a lot of this trial and error to figure out how to make that shit work, which is kind of problematic. And we did that Patreon. We were one of the very first reptile people to do Patreon. I want to say Camp Keenan beat us there. He had one before we did. But it was, you know, he was doing more like turtle rescue at the time and things like that. He wasn't really doing a lot of breeding that I know of. But as far as a breeder goes, we were one of the first ones at the table. And it started off being drunk one night and coming up with tears. Like that's really, we didn't ever think anybody would pay to watch us, I guess. You know, and even to this day, I still don't think people pay to watch me. So we wanted to build the community aspect out. So you get more than just me because, like, you know, I'm just a fat white guy playing with snakes in his basement. You know, that's how it started, really. And like, so we wanted to build out more because the communities behind it that we build, it's a good, friendly community. And they can do things on their own, buy and sell to each other. We have that set up, right? We have community tabs. So if they live in the same area, they can get together if they want to go to a show or do something and actually see the people they talk to. And it's one of the more active Discords out there for reptile stuff. That's a Patreon version. And that's something that I just thrive. You know, recently we had a member who's had a house fire and lost almost everything, you know, like everything. Man. And the Patreon community actually came together. Well, I was out fucking off in Florida and put together a charity auction to raise money for them and got them some animals, and we had some animals for them to get them back running and going, you know. And so like, but that was done by our members. Like I had an idea, I wanted to get them some animals so you could get some animals and get back started. Our members had the idea of doing a charity auction and putting that together and raising money that they all were putting their own animals up for to help this other member. And talk about feeling like, holy shit, you know, like it is a community and it goes well beyond me. It ain't about me anymore. It's about that community. And that's the coolest thing, you know, that's the coolest thing. So, yeah. Well, but it also helps keep the reptile house going.
The whole reptile community in a whole, yes, there's a few bad apples in it. But as a whole, it's probably one of the most close-knit communities out there.
Man, it can be. We got some bitchy sons of bitches that whine and cry and want to fight over everything, but then they will come together, you know, and help each other out. I will say that, you know, like sometimes we let our egos make ourselves look like assholes. And I'm not going to say I've never been guilty of that. I probably have a time or two. We all have, right?
I think we've all been there.
I'll own my own flaws, you know, and sometimes I have more fun with trolls than I probably should because I think it's hilarious. So it's just like, that's been my favorite thing is you'll get this if you haven't already, you know, and I'm sure you probably have. You get somebody on comments or something who's just wanting to be an asshat and they think that they can actually say something that's going to really affect your day. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to fuck with you and I'm going to have fun. And you can just get so pissed off and so wound up, like, you know, and I'm like thinking like, they're like, and they want to feel like they can do something to you. I'm like, I usually tell them like, you know, you got to realize that I'm just taking a shit and passing the time while I shit. Like, that's what you really are to me is you're like words with friends. I'm just doing something while I take a shit. you're really insignificant to my life. Like, I'm going to continue to do what I do despite what you say. And you have no platform and nobody gives a fuck. You know, I'm sure your mom cares about you, and that's probably where it stops. So like, you know, like, it's just, I love those trolls, man. I do. Sometimes I just play with new insults to come up to fuck with them for fun. Like, they're my favorite people.
I don't think I've had anybody get like that yet that I remember.
Oh God,
I'll add that bit in there. That I remember.
I've had some just be irate. You know, and if I have people who have a legit question or concern, I'm always down to answer that if I see it or help with that. And my favorite ones are the ones that start with a legit question. And it's like, you know, maybe like, so if spiders got neuro, why do you choose to breed it? That's always one. So I'll explain it, you know. Then they'll be like, well, you know, spiders, this and this and this and this. So I'm like, well, in my experience, you know, this is what I know. Like, from experience, not from reading something, not from watching something, from actual hands-on working with it for years experience, you know. And then they'll be like, then they go into their like, roar, I'm a PETA person or whatever, you know. And then it's just like, good, it gets fun. Then they get, I think my favorite thing I ever told was I wrote this whole long paragraph. Again, I was taking a shit, needed something to do. And it was all about like all these things. And it said, you know, basically I was just basically calling scared of the world. I said, but don't worry, don't be scared. You know, it's okay. You know, you little snowflakes get scared sometimes. I said, but don't get scared about the noises you hear at night, little snowflake. You'll be okay. It's just me banging your mom. And that was how it ended. And holy fuck, you thought I lit the world on fire. So, you know, I just have fun with it. It's just whatever. It's just fun times.
Now that I think about it, there was one person. It was on a short, which would made no sense at all. All right, it was on a short. I forget what freaking song I threw to it. It's just something that a song I liked, and I just figured, well, slap this song on with this snake for this short. And someone, like, I guess it really must have hurt someone's feelings that I used that song, because they told me on how such an inspirational song for such a non-inspirational video or something like that. Yeah. I'm like, it's a freaking short. It's a song. Like, who the hell cares? It was like 15 seconds. Like, how inspirational can 15 seconds freaking be?
Yeah. No, we've got it a lot because, you know, we've done some live feeding videos, which we always preface early, and we've also got it for our emblem. Our emblem caused a lot of hate for us over the years. You know,
really?
Because it's obviously I just ripped off the Gadsden flag. I'll tell you that's what I did. And some people would want to put that with different meanings than what it actually is, you know, like, okay. Yeah. And so, and some of them would ask, like, why did you choose that? And I'm like, well, because that flag, and one is an American emblem. Two is the flag of rebellion. It was a flag of rebellion against the English crown. You know, and I always kind of feel like as reptile keepers, we're a little bit on the outskirts of society. Nobody likes snakes. You know, we're always having to continually fight to keep our rights and keep our abilities. And it's a little bit, you know, you got to be a little bit rebellious to keep that, right? So it's that signet. I mean, it's part of that. And it has a snake on it. One of my favorite snakes of all time, the timber rattlesnake. So for me, it just kind of fit. I just, you know, like, it was perfect. But oh, geez, we've got hate for that. And so, like, yeah. In the live feed, we took a bunch of hate comments on live feeds one time, and we would read them. And I'd like, oh yeah, you know, I'll really think about that. And then I would open a tub and feed a snake, you know, just over and over again. And I dedicated a few videos to hate comments back in the day. I probably shouldn't have done that, but I tell people, I'm like, you know what? Keep bitching, and I'm going to make a feed video and dedicate it to you. You know? And so I went like, hey, we're doing this because so-and-so requested it. And we want to make sure and fill up their request, and we would feed shit. Just because I'm like, if you're going to bitch that much, I can speak louder than you can because it's my platform. I can just remove you from my platform when I'm done. Fuck with you. I'll just remove you, so I ain't got to deal with you anymore, and then I'll go do that. And it was, you know, I always get to have the last word. But it's your platform, you get the last word, right?
Exactly.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Well, the one thing I don't get is if people don't like it, then click out of it. Like, if you don't like what you're watching, move on. Like, no one's making you watch it.
Yeah, I thought, well, you're responding to me. I'm like, yeah, because every time I respond, you watch the video again, and that's more money for me. So keep watching the ads, dipshit. I like getting paid, you know?
Because, yes, the mere pennies we get,
right?
You probably get paid more because you've got a decent subscriber base. I'm just a little over 2K at the moment.
I pissed YouTube off somewhere along the way, and they nerfed the shit out of our views. So,
oh, really?
Yeah, we used to get a lot more than we do now. Maybe it's just because it's more of a flooded market. I don't know. If I was doing YouTube just for the money, like it wouldn't be worth it. It wouldn't be. Now the Patreon absolutely is, and the YouTube feeds a Patreon, so you got to kind of look at it that way. But you know, I think too part of it is the algorithms have changed, which is why you're gonna see so much more content pushed. Is I think the algorithm favors more content. It also favors shorts now. If you're not doing shorts, they're gonna nerf the shit out you. So I'm like, fuck, I gotta go do shorts. And shorts are not my forte because I'm a talker, so I want to run for 15 minutes, you know. But I've got to do it. I don't have an option. I have to go do the shorts now. So like last show we went and I had an idea for what I wanted to do, and you've seen a few of them probably if you watch. We just went to other breeders and said, hey man, show me your favorite thing you brought. Because the last show we went to, you were seeing a lot less ball pythons, actually.
Yeah.
Instead of being 9 out of 10 tables, it was probably 5 out of 10. So the variety was really, really good. And we'd just find a handful of tables we could get to for the show really got started before everybody was busy, and let them show us one thing that they really like. So we could show a different breeder, we could show their table, get their name out there, and show an animal that they were really proud of, you know? And it's going to take anywhere from 15 seconds up to a minute, and boom, in and out. And I've still got 3 or 4 of those left to drop over time. So, you know, and then we'll go the next show, we'll do the same thing. We'll start doing a lot more of that because I like to feature other people too, you know, like that's something I've always thought that we got lucky enough to build a platform out of sheer stupidity and luck. So if I can help feature other people, I want to do that. So,
well, see, that's good. And plus, like, for me with doing the lives and stuff, I use shows as a way to find new guests.
Yeah.
And highlight more local people. So I enjoy that.
Yeah, and they're great, you know, and like we've gotten to go back to now, I think 3 shows recently in the last few months. With appearances in Nebraska was the first one we did, I think. Then we went down to Shreveport. That one kind of sucked because they had a huge storm right before it knocked out their powers. So I'm not going to hold like there was just a low foot traffic, but we'll go back to that one because I think it'd be a lot better if that hadn't happened, because that was one of Mickey's, and Show Me does a really good job usually putting on those shows. And the last we hit was Cold Blooded Exotics down in Tulsa, and we had a really good time there. We'll probably hit some. We went to Kansas City, but we weren't selling anything. We just went to fuck off. I'm sure we'll hit some more in Kansas City. It's in my backyard. Manhattan, Kansas used to actually have a show that Dave Kornelski put on, and I'm hoping he picks that back up. So I'm saying that publicly. I already talked to him about it. I was like, hey, Dave, you should start that show back up, brother. That thing was good. He always had great foot traffic. So I'm hoping that will kick back off sometime if he gets the time and ability to do that. He's got other shit going on in life, and it takes a lot to put that on. So I'm hoping we get a show back in Manhattan, and if Dave puts that back together, we'll definitely be there. Whether we have shit to sell or not, we'll be there 100%. So to support that local stuff. But yeah,
I'm friends with the people that run Gettysburg Reptile Expo LLC up here in PA, and the amount of work that they had to put into it, like, and I only hear a minuscule amount of it.
Right.
But I just sit there and say, how in the hell can you guys even freaking function with doing everything you do, run the show, all like my head just freaking spins.
Yeah, then you got like people like Show Me Reptiles with old Mickey there, man. He's got like, I don't know if you're familiar with those dudes. They got shows all over the Midwest and spreading out to the East Coast now and everything else. And
I heard people to help run them. And straight east.
I mean, damn, like I'm like, that dude works. Nobody can say that some bitch ain't working hard. He's working hard. He's got to put in the hours to get that done, 100%. You know, and then Jason Cruz runs Cold Blooded Exotics. He has a lot in the Midwest, up and down through there. That's a lot of work for him to put on, you know, which is also Go Lizards, not to be confused with Go Herping, who did the horrible spider video. So don't even hold that against him, man. A 16-year-old kid, like, you can't blame him, right? But, you know, like all of those kind of companies too. And then I know, there's other ones, but those are the ones that I'm more familiar with in the Midwest. We see a lot of those shows, so. Right. I don't know who does in Nebraska. That was a Show Me Too we went to, wasn't it? Yeah, that was another Mickey show. But we did pretty good at that one. I mean, it was a smaller one, but his Kansas City one does really large and is really pretty good. So is Cold Blood is Kansas City. So they're all pretty solid.
I think the big thing, and I've noticed it for here anyway, recently, for whatever reason, there's shows running on the same days. And it's like
Yeah.
and the bad part is it's one thing if you'd be on the opposite side of the state.
They're
But-
next door to each other almost.
But yeah, some of these shows are like right next door, like the Gettysburg, like I know Joe has he's had his dates picked for years.
Right.
Like, and for whatever reason, this other show just it seems to fall on the same day here this year every like 2 times so far, and it's like they're an hour away from one another. It's maybe 2 hours.
Yeah.
That might
The
be
only
2
way
hours.
that'd be good is if the show was so full that it was hard to get in as a vendor, you know. Then I could see some point to that. But short of that, I don't see why anybody would want to do that. But,
Yeah, and then there was one over here in New York, and it went the same day as a Lebanon show. Well, that's an hour tops if you're going slow from one another, and it's like why? Like if somebody at some point should have been like, this is not a good idea on one side or the other.
yeah, because you're going to split the vendors and you're going to split the customers.
Yep.
Then as a vendor, your foot traffic goes down, and then that sucks ass. You know, only thing we can ask for as vendors from the show promoters is give me good foot traffic. You know, do a good job to get people in that door, so that way I have potential customers. That's all as a vendor you can really ask, I think, from your promoter. That and have power outlets where the fuck you're at, so I can plug in. You know, now when Jason's going to walk around and bring donuts, or Mickey's going to bring pizza, hey man, that's a bonus, and thanks a ton. But really, the foot traffic is a thing, and when you have them that close together, you're cutting your foot traffic down. You have to, because some people who would go to this one are going to go to that one because it's 5 minutes closer or whatever. You know, it's just
see,
not good.
One thing like with Gettysburg Reptile Expo LLC, they do the advertising right.
Mm-hmm.
There's tons of space for the vendors, which not all shows give the vendors enough space.
Now, some of you are packed in there pretty tight. You know, and I like,
there's tons of room for the foot traffic. Like you can actually move at Gettysburg.
Nice.
Not all the other shows you can actually move nicely and freely and not feel like you're a sardine. And the other thing is, you get a meal ticket with your table, so you get a big meal too. So I mean, you can't freaking beat it, and the prices are out of this world. So the table cost is outstanding as well. Let
me say one thing that could beat that from back in the day. Now, I know he's probably not watching, but somebody needs to contact him and tell him to rewatch this. And that's when they did run the Manhattan, Kansas show. One year, there was a keg of beer for the vendors.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know. I didn't have a lot of animals, so I sold out pretty quick, and I just got shit-faced hammered. I think I ended up on the radio drunk as shit before it was over. I had to oh, fuck, put on the sober face. Yeah, I could do this radio interview. So those are good times. You know, if I could say one thing to promoters, it'd be give me 8-foot tables, man. I hate the 6-foot tables.
See, that's the nice thing.
Yeah.
Joe gets you. We have 8-foot tables. Yeah.
8-foot's great. You know, you just get a little bit more space. And I know you can't pack as many people in there, vendor-wise, is probably why they do it. But, you know, last two we did, we had 8-foot tables. We had 2 of them. And with that 16 feet of space, I can run my 4 displays, my T-shirts, my video display I like to run. Everything had space. We had some of the overflow and some deli cups with a quick grab and go sale. And then when the last one was 6 foot, and you wouldn't think it'd be that big of a difference, but man, those 4 feet, we were really fucking missing them.
So, I bet.
Yeah. It was been sweet. A keg of beer in the show, sweet as hell, man. It was great. But I'll tell you. Go ahead.
6-foot table, if you're running like ARS displays, you're basically eliminating being able to use one display if you only get one table. Like you're maybe only able to run 2 full displays as opposed to having that third up there.
So the last show we went to, we had 2 6-foot tables, so 12 feet of table space. And I was able to cram on 2 ARS displays. I got 2 of the displays that aren't ARS, but they're the same size. So I could get 4 displays. I run a little laptop in the middle because I'm a shameless self-promoting whore that just runs a loop of our YouTube videos. Just in case somebody doesn't recognize us, they might be like, "Oh, I've seen you before. Yeah, awesome. Now buy a snake for me, damn it." So we run that in the middle, right? I know it's shallow, it's terrible, but we do.
About doing that too, though. So I
it's a great way to do it.
I just haven't done it yet.
You know, and if you do it, I used to use an actual laptop that kind of looked janky as shit. So just buy you a convertible one that you can flip over to a TP, set that up, good to go. That's what we run. And then it doesn't look like there's no keyboard sticking out in front of customers and shit. So it looks a little bit better. And then you can also run like an iPad or something that you have a stand for, I guess. That'd work too. But and I was able to have a t-shirt set to the side of one of the displays with t-shirts for sale. Because again, we're trying to get rid of all the old ones so we can get the new ones in. And then I had I didn't have as much overflow as I had before. I think we had 4 animals and belly cups. That was it. Yeah. That wouldn't fit in the displays. And I was able to get them on the table, but 2 of them had to be behind the t-shirt and 2 of them had to be over here, lined up like this. I couldn't put them like this. It'd be around the space. So you can get it done with 12 feet and 4 displays, but it's tight, man. It's tight. When you had 16 feet, we had 12 in deli cups that time. We had plenty of room. So we had more room in the middle where our video display was, because behind the video display is kind of where I work. That's where our card reader is, where we keep ink pens for things or marker to write on bags. So we always put the serial number on the bag and things like that. So we keep all of that at, where it's all kind of hidden but easy to get to. Well, when we had the 12-foot tables, we had to condense that down. So I lost a lot of workspace too. And that made it a little bit tougher. So I really like the 8-footers, but I get it. They run 6 foot. But tell you what, and I'm more than happy to come back on if you'll have me, because I love doing stuff like this. I really do. But we got maybe one more topic in us, and then my battery on my phone is going to shit the bed. So
no, you're actually good. I was actually just gonna. I swear this is kind of freaking creepy, scary that we're on the same page here on this one. I was actually just gonna say, let's save all the other topics I had for another live. I'll have you guys come back on. I do want to run through, say thanks to the sponsors real quick again.
Sure.
And then if you guys don't mind just hanging on for that. And then we'll bullshit backstage for a couple minutes or something here. But
perfect.
Everybody, next week's live, I have Chad from Richie's Recessives joining me. So we're going to have a good old time with our Chatty Daddy, because everybody loves Chad. Chad's an awesome dude. I'm surprised he isn't here tonight, but he's a busy guy. But we have Chad from Richie's Recessives joining us. I am trying to get KG and D from Bomb Projects on this week. We will also probably be doing our first sponsor live auction this week. Now, who it is, I don't know. I got to figure that out yet, because it's a new idea. We're going to see how it goes, see how everybody likes it. Hope you guys all enjoy it. But let's go through, thank the sponsors real quick, and then we'll wrap this up tonight, because, folks, we went 3 hours, and you guys know it's been a little while since I've done another. Well, I don't know if last week's live was 3 hours. I can't remember. Last week went a little long, too. I've been trying to tone them down to 2 hours, because it used to be 4 hours, dude. And until they loaded up and I could edit in the ads, that was just a freaking nightmare. I was getting to bed at 1 o'clock, back up at 5 o'clock. It was a freaking nightmare. But let's start off here with my buddy Nathan of Infinite Possible Pythons, guys. If you've lasted this long in this live, then it's okay for me to say this. But Nathan is the bang daddy, everybody. Nathan is out here to bang the world. So if you are looking to get into the bang project, make sure you guys hit Nathan up. It's a project I'm super excited about, and there's tons of promise with it. He's also doing a bunch of other really awesome ball python projects, in all seriousness. Truly beautiful animals. He's doing some scaleless corn snake stuff as well, along with kahua geckos, leachianas geckos, and crested geckos. So keep an eye out for him. Check out his market if you're looking to get into any of that stuff. Also, he is your one-stop shop for all of your branding needs. So make sure you guys hit him up for if you need backdrops, tablecloths, business cards, basically whatever you could think of, merch. Hit Nathan up. He'll give you some awesome prices. And don't forget, everybody, on the morph market end and just selling animal stuff, use code WARFUL10, 10% off. So give it a shot. Hit Nathan up. He's got some killer animals. And we've got my buddy Chris at S Reptilia, one-stop shop for basically whatever you may want in a snake. If you want a ball python, blood python, boa, colubrid, let me tell you, folks, he's got some awesome clowns that he hatched that are up for grabs. He's got some really nice lace stuff he's working with. If you're looking in that colubrid section, he's got some really nice bull snakes and pine snakes he was showing off, even Mexican black king snakes, folks. Those things were really awesome. And it's great to see them in person and see them, as hatchlings. Definitely beautiful animals. If you are on the eastern side of PA, he's a rat breeder, guys. So hit him up if you need some rats. Definitely some of the highest quality rats I have ever seen. Absolutely, I really don't like using anybody now but Chris for my rats. And that is not just because he's a sponsor. That's just because the quality is there, the care and packaging is there. All that stuff adds up and means a lot. And he is also our Pennsylvania's distributor for Cocoa to Go and the Chipper, which in my opinion is the best reptile cocoa substrate on the market today. And then we've got John and Christine from Triforce Morphs, everybody. They are a force to be reckoned with, and that's no lie. If you can't find it at Triforce, I don't know where to tell you to go then. They're working so many different projects, beautiful, amazing snakes. Sometimes you get an extra bonus gene in there as well, because they believe in, if they can't see it, they're not going to lie to you and tell you it's there. They only tell you what they see. So they're working really heavy in the Clown Pied or Citron Clown Pied project, lace stuff, the Gray Matter project, that type of stuff. Truly beautiful animals, folks. Trust me, you will not regret hitting up Triforce. There again, same thing with Chris and here with Triforce. Use code WARFUL10, get 10% off of your next purchase from them. Lets them know that you came from me, gets you a little bit of a discount, and lets them know that they're putting, they're investing wisely in my brand. Greatly appreciate all the support from the sponsors and you folks. Also, if you're not using it yet, Husbandry Pro, click the affiliate link in the description down below or scan this QR code, whichever is the easiest for you. But it is 30-day free trial of the best reptile record keeping and tracking software on the market. I use it. I've used it since even before I became a partner with them, and I'll use them till the day I'm out of this industry. Saves me so much time. The records I'm able to provide for my customers very easily and lightning fast like that, it means the world to me. So I greatly appreciate being partnered up with them, and give it a try, folks. If you don't like it, I will be highly surprised. And that is it, folks. Let's see. We got some comments here that came in. Jason Brown says, LOL, about the Bang Daddy and Bang the World. Jason, I do want to thank you, dude, for the super chat. I greatly appreciate that. I've not seen a super chat come across the screen in a while, so I do want to make it, extra special thanks again for the super chat. I greatly appreciate it. Jason says, also, I hope you have Olympus on again sometime very soon. Night, everyone. Great show. Thank you very much, everybody. Charlie, good night. Get some sleep, dude. Mitzi, thank you very much. It's great to see you in the chat, girl. Thanks for tuning in. Greatly appreciate it. Greg loves the Bang the World thing. I don't even know how it just kind of came out on one live and it's stuck. And I figured, you know what? The first commercial serious, it's down to business. If people have lasted 3 hours and they get to see the last little promo ad thing, they deserve a good chuckle. And Nathan's cool about it. He owns it.
I haven't done a 3-hour bang in a long time. I'm getting old.
Lindsay, thanks for tuning in, girl. Great to see you. I hope you're doing well. I definitely got a message.
Got 2 good minutes, I think.
Jim, thank you, dude. Greatly appreciate. Jay Slithers, thank you for tuning in. Great to see you in the chat tonight because you are a new face, I do believe. So awesome to see you. Matt, Caleb, thank you so much, guys, for joining me tonight. I greatly appreciate it. We are going to reschedule for another night because, damn, there's still a lot more shit to talk about. And this whole thing just kind of flowed. It was great. I loved it.
Awesome.
So, everybody, that's going to be it for this week's live. Greatly appreciate it. I have no idea what – actually, I think this week's video for Wednesday's drop is going to be clutch cutting of 6. I don't think you guys got to see me cut clutch 6 yet. So it's going to be a clutch cutting. Yeah, I think it should be 6. It's a badass clutch, though. Hit some really badass animals. So I'll be surprised if they kind of don't fly off the shelf real quick, especially the one. I'm pretty sure actually it might be already flown off the shelf, and that's just because I mentioned it to somebody. But anyway, make sure you guys check out Wednesday's video. Make sure you're here next Sunday for Chad from Richie's Recessives. It's going to be a great live. Catch you next week, folks. Later.